look at CryptoPunks, right? Nothing about them seems interesting. It's like 64-bit art of like faces that's now worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars per. Do Not Peek are encouraging my use of the C word, right?
Yes.
So don't come to me like, no, it's Australian, it's just really great. Like,
so anytime that you think that you're up, or anytime that you think that you did something that's gonna affect that thing up there, you have to be the one that leaves, and you're gonna have to be the one that takes the full blame, and you're gonna be the one that
Noble yeah, go on. Yeah, are you pissing on it? Yeah.
Sorry, Jason.
Bye, guys.
I'm sorry, Jason. Hello, and welcome to the Breakdown, February 9th, 2022. It's episode 9, Mitch. We're almost to double digits. Big number 9. Number 9. I'm Sir Scoots. I'm joined by my co-host in the big TV, Uber Shouts, Mitch Leslie. Hello, sir.
Good to be here. I'm looking forward to being back in that room with you, Scott. Looking even more forward to the pancakes before we go live. That's it. Yeah, it's been too long now, actually. But I hope we can get back in the studios. I've got to apply for clearance with management. That is my partner, and then we'll be Gucci, baby. But listen, look, I'm really looking forward to today. There's a ton of stuff to talk about. Crucially, as well, we're having a chance to chat with Hecz, which we couldn't do last week, but that's all good. We got him here, and he's like, on a personal level, he's someone that I looked up to a lot from afar, but I was never really in the same scenes, in the same circles. I never was really involved in COD on console. I started in COD 2 on PC, so we have a similar interest, but we never really crossed paths outside of a couple of occasions. So looking forward to having a chance to pick his brain. I know you and him got it.
Yeah, we go way back to bumping into each other at the MLG days when he was working OpTic. I was working Goffrag, and then right after that, EG. And had some very interesting conversations with him over the years because OpTic kind of came at this industry totally opposite than most traditional kind of PC-based gamer teams like EG and the likes on our side. Very content, lifestyle-based versus very sports and get some sponsorship-based, and did things really, really well from the get-go. Great guy, been around for certainly an OG and a legend at this point. It is also his birthday today, so it's great that he decided to grace us, of all places, on his birthday, although he was supposed to be here last week and things came up. So really, really looking forward to talking to him. The whole second half of the show is going to be a down memory lane with Hector, old stuff, new stuff, what he's doing on in the future. Very, very exciting stuff. Big front of the show, though, like right off the bat, reminder, questions and answers always at the end, and especially, I got to be really careful here, Mitch. They've got a jar in the lobby of Do Not Peek now that is the and again jar. That doesn't count. Because I'm notorious, like when I used to host desks, like everyone's got their on-air ticks, right? And my on-air tick is not to say because that's worse, right? You don't want to do that. My tick is and again. That's what I use to pause, to reformulate, right? Legendary, still brought up to this day. And again. And so
Scott, that is a common time buy technique used by greenhorn commentators. You know that, right? You're outing yourself.
I am
when I sit down with pastors and try and coach them to not be dog shit, this is like the first thing I go to them about. My God. All right. Well, so if you have a jar for that, do I have a cunt jar then in the lobby?
No, because I think we'd encourage that usage. So no, that doesn't count. No.
Okay. So it's on record, by the way, everybody, that Do Not Peek are encouraging my use of the C word, right?
Yes.
So don't you fucking come to me like, no, it's Australian, it's just really great. Like,
I have no problem taking the cunt out of the content. We've talked about this, right? So I'm okay with separating you from, how you act. Yeah, so I won't avoid and again. It'll just happen. So the money will flow to somebody. And again, big topics today. We will do a question and answer at the end. We'll try to load that, if at all possible, if you've got Hector-related questions, because he's going to be the guest at the end of the show. But let's jump into our first topic. Where would we be in esports? Where would we be without another conversation about some sort of possible NFT, crypto, blockchain interactions? And we've got a couple of them today. This one, though, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Dude, I mean, come on. I love this from 100 Thieves. There are very few organizations that understand activations with mainstream brands or concepts better than these guys. Don't know how they do it. They just understand what, people want, where people want to be, what they want to watch. I think Hector's much the same, cut from the same cloth, right? 100 Thieves have, I love this, reading this tweet. They have released a commemorative digital 100 Thieves championship chain. It's a chain.
Mm-hmm.
It's digital. It's on the blockchain, but it doesn't say that. Nowhere in this tweet does it say NFT, MetaMask, crypto, blockchain, anything like that. But that is what it is. So people call this quote unquote cunning. And I'm like, I don't know about that because I want to get your thoughts on this one. As someone obviously who's still trying to shield the esports cruise coin.
Yeah.
Maybe you could take some points from this. This really is. So it's on the Polygon blockchain. So it uses as much power, has as much environmental impact as sending quote unquote 2 emails. There are no gas fees because they are paid for. They are paid for. There's like $25 per chain. That's paid for. So that's a lot. Like gas fees are fucking high. Now to be fair, on the Polygon blockchain, probably much lower. So I guess that's that. If it was Ethereum, that's how much it probably would cost, about $25. And there was an infinite number of these available to claim for a short time. So the art wasn't stolen, as far as I know. As far as I can tell, the pantheon of concerns that anti-NFT, anti-DeFi people had were essentially unanswered. And the best they could come up with in the comments was like, yeah, you guys wanted to get a digital thing? Yeah. Joke's on you, it doesn't do anything. Everyone's like, so I fucking want it anyway, dickhead. I got one. Absolutely, I got one. Didn't cost me a damn cent. Didn't ruin the environment. And yeah, it's just a fucking thing. The thing we have. It's like putting a fucking pin on your backpack. It's cool, right? It's just a thing. But, Scott, it got people to make MetaMask accounts.
Yes.
And how many of these got collected?
So over 700,000 got collected by the end of the event. 300,000 got collected within the first 24 hours. Brilliant. Brilliant.
God, if only these crypto people knew that this is all you had to do. First of all, don't use the words because everyone just blocks the tweets, and then just remove some of the less good things about it, and then watch like the anti-NFT ideologues just have a fucking aneurysm because they're like, wait, none of our concerns are present with this problem, but I still ideologically hate this thing, so and then just fucking head explodes. The comments were fucking incredible to see. I mean, again, compare this to the G2 fan club membership NFT, this fucking dog shit concept that they announced a few days ago, right? It's like two completely different things, but they are both technically NFTs.
Yeah. Sorry, I was dealing with a production thing. Can you repeat what you just said? Sorry.
That's fine, that's fine.
I lost my monitors here.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, like, compare this to the G2 NFT
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Both NFTs, but like that dog shit idea of like some fucking crappy art of a guy with a sword, sort of some samurai off spin or whatever, to this 705,000 owners. Now, again, this has got to have something to do with Fwiz. This has fucking got to have something to do with Fwiz.
Yes.
This is his blockchain he's working on, and it drove all these people to create crypto wallets. MetaMask is thinking, oh, fuck me, this is brilliant. This has got to be one of the most successful activations bridging gaming and blockchain I think you'll ever see and you ever have seen. So obviously brilliant. It's brought to you by the minds that bring you all of the other digital crack that people consume on YouTube and such. I'm not surprised, but I just think it's so funny. Watching the NFT haters just lose their fucking minds. It is brilliant.
Yeah, I mean,
how are you gonna fucking block that?
They nailed this. They nailed the marketing of this. And again, I don't know if we mentioned what it's for, right? They won LCS North America, so it's to commemorate that. Obviously, a big achievement for them in their League of Legends division. So kind of a neat fan-related thing, because you bring up G2, and we've talked about like the tokens and the coins and utility and not utility and NFTs just being a digital item for the collectability itself. But we like the idea of if you're going to have a token or something for your team, if you can add some utility behind it. ESL is doing this thing with NFTs and crypto, but also it gets you stuff at the events. But all of them, Cloud9, all of them have announced and got shit on because they didn't do what 100 Thieves did and pull the keywords out that agitate people, right? And I wrote down, no use of NFT in my notes, but when you, in your little intro, you actually, they didn't use crypto, they didn't use blockchain, they didn't use any of that technology terms, right?
They didn't use WAGMI, they didn't use GM.
Yep. It's super smart because, I was joking the other day, last week, that I blocked Wordle. Right, but people have blocked NFT, right? People have blocked these terms, so they would never have seen this. Again, absolutely brilliant. And again, they activated 700,000 people onto the platform, and they don't say a number, but in some of the reports and some of the press about it, they use terminology like majority of were new users.
No way.
Majority of those 700 were new users to the platform. So they just engaged, adopted, and onboarded over 500,000 people into this world, right? Now, the key would be, can they now keep them with these people? How many of these people will maybe stay involved? Will they buy something? Are they just there for the free thing and to check it out? But bravo, right? That free crack from the crack dealer, right?
Yeah. It's like it has less utility than a Valorant skin, right?
Yep.
It doesn't do anything. It just sits there. But what it did, the website landing page also linked people to prominent 100 Thieves figures wallets. So you could see what digital assets they were collecting. It had Nadeshot's wallet, Yasuo's wallet, and someone, I forget who the fuck it was, right? And you could look at their wallets. You could look at their OpenSea profiles and see what was in their wallets, right? Oddly enough, Yasuo has some Bored Apes that I could see it was transferred to him via a fucking crypto casino platform. So where you can wager, you could wager NFTs, basically. And sort of, and like he had multiple Bored Apes, I think that came from this casino platform. So I don't know what the fuck he gets up to, but that's like a bit dodgy. But again, this is literally just awareness, it's advocacy. But tell me you wouldn't be over the moon if you can get more than 350 signups to your account. Now you are paying gas fees, but if you are the Polygon network, right? As Fwiz or whoever, you can probably finagle it so that like you don't shoulder a substantial financial burden for this because they are covering the gas fees, but they are also the blockchain. They are that network.
But it could be very simply just a sponsorship deal. Like we're not 100 Thieves is not covering that. We're bringing our brand to this platform. You're covering the gas fees for this project, and then some. They might have even got paid to do this, Mitch. Or in 6 months we're going to see some big sponsorship announcement between these companies in a bigger
NFTs. Or who knows, right? I mean, you can track that. You can go find that.
But again,
Nadeshot, by the way, has fuck all in his wallet. Yeah, his crypto wallet, his NFT wallet, rather. He doesn't have any.
Okay,
a ton of stuff.
Good to know. But again, great. And again,
Timer in chat points out he's a big crypto degen. Sorry, I'm outing you, bro. But yeah, he's like it's like $100 for like 750K Polygon transactions. So it's fuck all. Because it's a layer 2 solution on the Ethereum blockchain designed to make transactions faster and cheaper.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. It's not like and there might be something else exchanged there, but thanks, Taimu. Costs fuck all. There you go.
Yeah, and certainly we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on what they do with this NFT space of theirs. I would say safely the best launch of a product, an engagement into that space so far from an esports team, just by virtue of, just the brilliant marketing of it. Like it's a digital collectible.
I want to see what the arguments people have against it, because this is where all the ideologues get outed from the people that actually have like legitimate, concrete concerns about it.
Can you sell it? Can you buy it? Now that it's out, can I sell it? Or is it like locked or anything weird?
Oh, you could sell it. Yeah, you can absolutely sell it, but no one will buy it because there's 750,000 of them in existence, and you could get one of your own for free wherever. So I mean, you can check on OpenSea. You can see this product on OpenSea.
Like, does it have a worth?
You can see how many people.
Okay.
Yeah, 0.00007 Ethereum. So fuck all.
Okay.
You wouldn't cover the gas fee for the sale of it because there's so much. It's not really to be considered the kind of asset that appreciates in value, but maybe because it was look at CryptoPunks, right? Nothing about them seems interesting. It's like 64-bit art of like faces that's now worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars per. No utility, but they were the first the first bona fide NFT, and they've become blue chip in terms of their valuation. So maybe that's why people are holding them. I just wanted it because I'm like, fuck it doesn't cost me anything. I like to have this thing, it's just a thing that I have.
Yeah.
It doesn't take up any space and kill the environment. It doesn't cost me anything, but I have it. It's like a fucking Steam badge on my profile.
Yeah.
It's fine, I guess. It's just a thing.
It was a brilliant way to get possible, again, new engagement, and people that are already on board with NFT obviously love this, right? If they're already a 100 Thieves fan, they're already into it all. This is just a bonus, like, oh shit, thank you so very much, right? So, again, hard to hate on it unless it turns into some evil project, and they mine these 700,000 people. I don't know. Like, are they getting emails every day to buy stuff on OpenSea now? Are they being slammed and spammed? Well, you'll keep an eye on it. You're an owner of 100 Thieves digital collectible.
That's exactly right. It's like having a sticker book, you know what I mean? Or the stamps like Odie puts in chat. I was here. It's a proof of attendance, in a way. So yeah.
Well, now I'm bummed I don't have one.
Yeah, get fucked. Should have. Yeah, see, Mitch, I'll sell it to you for 1 Ethereum. You have to hang it around. The Esports Cruise Coin proceeds, 1 Ethereum, great price.
I trade you 5 SAS coins. Check it.
I felt a rug pull coming. I'm not sure about that one. Hey, let's keep talking about this.
Speaking of rug
this
pull.
is actually related. Yeah, exactly. So look, there are a ton of shitty esports orgs with shitty logos that all look like derivatives of the same thing. Look like an abstract noun as their name, right? It's every fucking like every shitty org.
I love that I can look and see the shit. Now. It's right there.
This is Noble. Yeah, this is basically Leonidas met Anita Sarkeesian and got a makeover. Noble. Go on. Yeah, are you pissing on it? Yeah.
Sorry, Jason.
Bye, guys.
I'm sorry, Jason. Don't try this at home.
We'll clean that up later.
Don't try this at home.
Noble. Let's talk about these guys. A great article by Liz Richardson for .esports that sort of highlights a lot of the angst that was happening around this brand. A lot to talk about here, Scott. First of all, basically they weren't paying people. In a nutshell, there's a lot of elements to this. So at some point, the social media management of Noble. This is when we really understood outwardly that something was going on. Hello, Noble fans. This is the social media team. We will not be working until we all receive the payment that was promised in our contracts. # stay unpaid, which I think might be a sort of a twist on that. And then they changed their header, I suppose, which is fair enough, I guess.
Don't piss off
they
your
changed their
social media
banner.
team.
Right. And so we're thinking, something is fucking going on. Something is happening here. And then it disappeared. I guess their Twitter account for a time blinked out of existence. So if you didn't know what was going on up until now, you probably know something's happening. And at this time, everybody at Noble is resigning. A bunch of people, like different sort of from different departments, and basically saying I'm owed this amount of money. It was obviously people found it entertaining, but in reality, like these are a bunch of people that weren't getting paid by their employer, and now they were going public, which is obviously the nuclear option for these people. And this team has not been clean in hands, sort of over the years anyway. I mean, like so the first guy who owned it was some douchehole who was accused of sexual harassment, and then a guy called Kyle McDougal, literally called Kyle from Florida, and he was a what do they call him? Maggot, whatever. He was a trumper. Anyway, Alexander Cole here says, I left Noble in 2019 as the GM after allegations arose between Noble and not funding the H1Z1 team properly, stopping a payment on the team's condo, leaving one person to be evicted from the condo without money for a plane ticket home. This is before, by the way, this team was acquired. So this was under the initial management. But the problem is with the subsequent management, I guess, these guys are birds of a feather, because neither of the cunts is paying their staff. And Scott, we got this fucking Kyle McDougal's his name. I guess he had the VC to acquire the brand for a reported amount of what, $200,000. So yeah, that's how he picked it up and then sort of tried to make things happen with this org. But did you see his like explanation, his statement on Twitlonger? Some real holes here.
Yeah, insane statement. Well worth the read, folks. It been punched full of holes, obviously, since he put it out. He did bring the Twitter back as well. A couple things, yeah. So he bought Noble from the last scummy owner for $200,000 in 2020, and then started spending money. Staff, teams, etc. The first thing that jumped out at me in his little statement that got called on him was that they paid all their payroll in PayPal, which sometimes depending on the country and who you're paying, sometimes you have to use PayPal for stuff. Does make sense, but not everything. And tens of thousands of dollars worth of fees over the course of a year is just impossible. The fees aren't that high, so he's basically flat out lying about PayPal fees. And then people started like researching this guy and figuring out who he was, and his LinkedIn. He's got a finance degree and all this different finance background, and so people started calling him on you're using PayPal and Excel as your payroll system, right? Your payroll system. Do not do not peak as a little company with 11 of us, and we've got a payroll system and QuickBooks and all this adult business shit. And he's got he's got more people on his social media team and creators than in my entire company, right? So insane that and it's all just excuses, right? Because it wasn't just 1 month of missed payments because I missed an Excel spreadsheet. His version of Noble made news last year when his India PUBG team, I'm slowing down because I think it's PUBG because I'm confusing with H1Z1 from the other owner. PUBG team, PUBG Mobile went 4 months without getting their paychecks for their salaries. So I think what this guy did is he thought whoever the old owner was, sold this guy a pill of goods on the Noble brand, the Noble social, the Noble metrics, how great esports is. You can get on the ground floor. We're a badass team. You can be just like 100 Thieves and Cloud9. For the low, low price of $200,000, you start off with a great brand. He says, great. Maybe he is a decent guy. Maybe he's not a bad guy at all and just has no idea about our industry and thinks, $200,000.
No,
hang on. I'm benefit of the doubt. I'm doing a little Van Silly on you. I know you don't like it 2 days in a row. I'm going to give it to you. The respect heart. Van Silly, respect heart. But then he gets in, right? And he realizes that all these divisions and all these salaries, and he's got 10 employees that are not players in this division of 5 and this division of 3 and all this labor and overhead, and realizes that there's not a single ounce of fucking revenue in this business, right? And he starts just burning capital, his own, right? He quickly realized esports, he got fucking gamed, right? So, again, none of this makes it right. But obviously...
Then what did he decide to do?
So he decided to go to the topic we always talk about. Nobility coin, the token comes along.
Before that, he just decided not to pay cunts. He just this isn't working out for me. I'm just not going to pay people.
Yes, he literally decides, I'm done. I'm going to walk away from this little fucking shithole business.
Literally, around February, March 2021, again, this is coming from the .esports article, McDougal wanted to sell Noble, right? And he said he didn't want to pay for anything anymore, so he wanted to sell it. But he hadn't sold it yet. He still had the fucking thing. Anyway, go on.
What's there to
we can
sell?
talk about this because at this point, McDougal is starting to felch around in the cryptocurrency world, and trying to, I think, reach out. SafeMoon, for example, is like one particular coin that I know he reached out to. It was like, it was a tweet that they made, and obviously it appealed to a bunch of crypto people. SafeMoon was, from what I understand, is full of people trying to pump their own bags, so they're really bullish about it on Twitter.
Okay.
This is very common, but I just want to quickly take an aside. When you have a community of people that are tweeting about a cryptocurrency, using a specific hashtag as well, these people are in a Discord that is related to that cryptocurrency, and quite often these Discords there are channels called raid channels, and the admins, they say, hey, this person just said he's interested in getting into cryptocurrency. All of you go there and shield this coin. Or, hey, this person critical about a coin on Twitter, all of you go there and shit on them. Like they brigade social media activity with the people inside the Discord who are obviously just trying to pump their own bags. They don't want to see any FUD, right? Which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt about what they've invested in, because it will, they want the floor price, they want the price of the coin to go up. So they will more than happily, like, en masse, these fucking 5-follower accounts go out there and sort of pump their bags by saying how good their thing is. So this tweet obviously Noble made about SafeMoon attracted all these people, and I guess they started talking. It's just it's dodgy, right? So you can't really trust what you see on Twitter. Everyone's like, yeah, this is great. Like this NFT is gonna build schools in Nepal. You should check it out. It's fucking awesome. They'll say whatever the fuck they can to pump their bags so they don't lose the money that they invested. The more money they invest, the more desperate they are to just do whatever they can. Anyway, this guy McDougal created his own crypto token after things with SafeMoon didn't actually happen, called an ability token. So again, we talked about this last week about Ice Poseidon's situation with his CX coin.
Yeah.
Now, quite often these tokens are introduced with a scheme. So McDougal's case, the nobility token was to have 7% of the tokens. I don't know. I guess this is fractionalized rewards go to the holders of the token, right? So there are dividends of some sort going to the holders of the token. A 2% goes back into the system. What does that mean? I guess potentially burning those tokens. And then 2% is put into a quote unquote esports wallet for tournament pools. So the sort of whole point about this was that it would also fund esports tournaments that had utility. There was a reason to hold it, yada, yada. I think David Chen, who co-owned FaZe Clan, was on board with this. He actually got on board, but tournament organizers, Scott, game devs don't want to work with crypto money to fund tournaments for them in like a third party sense. So this was like kind of a bad idea. But anyway, while this shit's going down with Noble, then as it showed on that sort of tweet, the Nobility token account is sort of tweeting about this and saying, hey, we're like not the same. We're completely different. But it's the same person.
Yeah.
It's literally McDougal tweeting this shit.
Yeah, and I was looking at the actual Noble GG website the other day and looked at their staff list, and there's like 8 people listed with their bios, Kyle, and then like 7 of his employees. All 7 of them that were listed have all quit. They're all part of it, and then more quit that weren't listed on the his entire About Us staff page is empty now. Well, it's probably not empty. They're probably still listed, but just they all left. But they're all on the Nobility token side, pretending like they're not related. The graphics guy worked for both. Obviously, he's involved in both. They used the esports side of it. The coin only exists because of the Nobility brand, Noble brand, right? And I still think that it's just so typical esports that the douchebags that come up with the most pompous name for their fucking brands are the ones that literally do the opposite to them, right? Like Noble.
Sure.
Let's look up Noble, shall we? Let's research what Noble stands for and what.
Well, I mean, that's what I said. Like some abstract noun bullshit, right? They just want to slap on a logo.
Denial's perfect.
What's so
Jason
funny
said,
is that
Denial's perfect. You're all right.
Denial's a great.
And it's funny. Denial is literally the carbon copy. Denial had its first owner, terrible piece of shit, quits, sells his piece of shit to somebody else who wants to make a difference, who's gonna be great. This crazy dude named Zach wasn't great, didn't make a positive difference. He came in with a blaze of glory, also burned the fuck out of people, had a CEO that burned the fuck out of people. They dipped out into crypto and all sorts of shit. So it's weird. Denial and Noble, very similar. Very, very similar stories.
Yeah, look, I mean, and this guy, the guy, you have to understand, the guy running this thing, he has money, but he has more dollars than cents. You know that saying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
More dollars than cents. Right? He has no fucking idea how to run his brand because, he's using the social media account of Noble to a bunch of right-wing tweets. He has used social media on Instagram or on Twitter to further his sort of Republican Party sort of supporting Trump-loving beliefs. I mean, that's there's literally a tweet from a member of their creative team who had a screenshot of all these tweets that were liked by the Noble account that they didn't know about. They had to go back and unlike them all because people started noticing. This is all public, right? And this guy was just dragging his feet. He didn't want to pay people at all. He literally called someone a quote-unquote pussy for taking a mental health day. That was not to them, but to his sort of GM. right? So this is the kind of person that we're dealing with. Yeah, this is the kind of person we're dealing with. So, you have money, you get into esports, you become dissatisfied because you can't turn it into a quick profit.
Yeah.
Then you get mad and say, I'm not paying because like I didn't get my return on investment out of this, so I'm just not going to put any more in. I'm not going to pay these people now. This is what happened with Artur Minikov. It was the same thing with these things. Like, oh no, this industry has betrayed me, so I'm not going to give it another cent. Yeah. No. It's my mental health. I'm going to go away and fucking recover and become reborn again because of the impact that this has had on my life. Like, they don't know how to spend money, so they've got a guy who does graphics, I think, or something like that. And he was working for Noble already. And so then what they do, they sign him to work for the Nobility token as well, to produce assets, graphics, whatever, right? In theory. He double dips his salary. They say, okay, yeah, we'll offer you this salary again. So they're paying him double now, but they asked him to do this much. Nothing. So these guys just piss money away and then don't want to spend it on the things that it actually has to be spent on. Hey, I don't blame the guy for fucking, by the way, double dipping on his salary. Like, my guy, get that bread. But like the fact that they're not actually assigning him any work to do whatsoever. His workload didn't change at all, and they're paying him double. Means that this is mismanagement of money. It's probably some fucking trust fund kid or just some dickhead who managed to walk into some money and has no idea how to manage it. This story keeps happening over and over again in esports. We self-police to some degree, but like it's so fucking Wild West out here, mate. That like people can come in and do this, and it's happened so many times. That's because I guess that's one of the parts of it, us being kind of grassroots, in that you can get involved in some way. We don't have checks and balances to apply to individuals that are entering the space. And even when we quote unquote, even when we could have them in theory, we sort of choose not to apply them because the money is too good. That's, I'm sure it's better than it was. I was at ESL at 2012? Was it 2013? So even that wasn't even that long ago. If I'm talking to someone like Odie or talking to someone like Scoots, but even then I was like, "Oh, this is fucking wild. This is." Oh yeah. And then in Australia since 09, I saw like the 09 shit show, 09 through 14 shit show in Australia. Where just fucking, and I mean, it didn't make any sense. So just another brick in the wall of shit country, Scott. Just another one, mate.
Yes, a not very noble endeavor, but it led us down a rabbit hole, Jason and I, yesterday, brother. Because we started looking at this nobility token, and then some press releases around it, and it led us to this thing called Gyltch, and this Vegas event where they played this video and they started talking about Noble and Gyltch and investment together and the future of esports and these esports arenas. And
what is Gyltch?
Gyltch?
Yeah, what the fuck is Gyltch?
Gyltch is a...
where did this come from?
Here you go. Save your money, kids.
Is this the metaverse? Is this the metaverse?
Finally? Wish. This is everything you always wanted in a venue.
Okay. They actually intended to build this in real life, right? In brick and mortar real life.
Yes. The plan for this, Gyltch is a live entertainment company. They plan to build 20 plus of these in North America and Canada, ranging from 50,000 square feet to 90. That is a laser tag Counter-Strike map right there. They literally smoked a bunch of weed and put every possible thing you would ever want to jam into a LAN cafe, PC bang, esports arena, arcade, ever into one building. Tron bikes, Tron racing bikes, stadium. Oh, here comes the esports arena. Big theater. Look at this thing, dude.
Huh?
I'm pumped. I want one in my backyard. I want one yesterday.
So, hang on. This is, all right, so, I mean, first of all, the render is...
it's impressive.
Extremely detailed. How much do you fucking pay for a render? Sorry!
Hidden areas.
In the middle of some fucking
hidden areas.
Scotland Yard looking hub. Oh, okay, hang on. Was that Korean barbecue? But that architecture wasn't Korean. What is going on? What is this? It looks like Siri Station.
Oh, yeah.
If you fucking watch these fans.
90,000 square foot of gaming, entertainment goodness.
What is this? Bridge of the Rocinante. Okay, that's normal arcade game. This is the arena again.
Yeah, it's just the end of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy. They got everything. Again, everything you could possibly think of. That's what I was like,
okay,
oh
so
shit, this
first
is
of all,
crazy.
People with epilepsy wouldn't be able to step into that building at all,
no.
unfortunately.
No.
People that are photosensitive.
No.
Just fucking forget about it.
So,
Okay. What do they have, Adderall dispensers instead of gumball machines in this place? So you're telling me, Scott, that this is something that Noble, is this their project, or are they investing it? Like,
well, we were trying to figure out the Gyltch Noble connection, and it was really gray, so we couldn't quite figure it out. But then we just got really excited about this Gyltch project, and excited by like, what the hell is this goddamn thing? And it turns out that this company not only is doing the arenas, and again, they want to open a whole shitload of them. You know, they say 32 of them over the next 8 years. Very expensive, about $54 million each. But what they're also doing is they're crowdfunding a gear company, kind of, sort of, in a weird way, right? You can invest. See, these are Invest Now and Keyboard, right? This really crazy investment scheme. And then they have this tournament desk that is just the craziest goddamn thing ever. You can pre-order one now. And they're
15 grand.
Say again?
For 15 grand, right? If you invest 15 grand, you're gonna send you one. So what? This is hold on.
Yeah. So this is the
this
desk
is like
promo.
A computer desk.
The idea is you're a tournament
Can you
organizer, and you have all these desks. Really easy to set them up for your events. You can rack them all up, set them all up, hook them all up, and away you go.
Okay.
Now, if you got to swap that video card out, though, in mid-match or something, or swap the PC, bad idea.
Okay. Well, right. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of different things here. Fair enough. So there's two different things we're looking at here. Gyltch is trying to create a product in partnership with Alienware that represents like a all-in-one solution for tournament organizers, where you can it's like a modular. You deploy this desk, it's all built in there. So theoretically, it would save some time in setup. God forbid, I don't know how hard it would be to really tinker with the hardware there, but I mean, I don't know how much the actual computer, how much space the computer takes up there. What if I like to fucking slam the desk though when I lose?
Oh shit!
You know what I mean? That doesn't seem great. So this is the company is creating the desk, this gaming desk, right? Kind of like a Kickstarter, glitchgear.com. You can have a look at it yourself. But they also are trying to create these like gigantic esports complexes.
Yeah,
we can't not even worthwhile. We'll talk to we'll talk to Hector about this later as well. So obviously he's involved in the esports arena, one of the few sort of purpose-built stadiums for esports tournaments. The ROI does not exist for purpose-built esports venues. At least I'm pretty sure. I know that Belong Arenas, I think, is another brand that is creating these destinations. I don't think they look nearly like that. Looks like an Unreal Tournament level, I think, like you pointed out. But yeah, that's what Noble are investing in. So I mean, they're obviously very entrepreneurially aligned, but I mean, just pay your people first, I guess, is my concern. Just like looks like they're into some weird shit.
Yeah, and that whole Gyltch thing, like that video just screams, we're going to make something really slick so we can convince you to give us millions and millions and millions of dollars of your venture capital. Because we don't need $54 million super hyped esports arena arcades anywhere. Like, I think Belong, I think the smaller ones, like you mentioned Belong, that's more of a strip mall-y PC LAN cafe vibe. Small square footage, easy to maintain, not like that at all. No arena, no theater stuff. And then local hosts, Nerd Street. Like, we've got tons of people that are trying to do, I think, less glossy looking venues. I think the Fusion, if they haven't opened, they're still trying to open that thing in Philadelphia attached to their teams that is more glossy like this a little bit, but attached to teams at least. But again, and reading some stuff, so a little bit of backstory that makes it make a little sense, although it still doesn't make sense. The guy behind Gyltch is the ex-owner of GameWorks. And if you're not familiar with what a GameWorks is, there's 7 of them now left in the U.S. And GameWorks were a fancy arcade, right? Big malls had them. They had food, they had arcades, and they had big, crazy arcade machines, like the ones that you strap it and you go up, half a level, like wacky shit, like Dave & Buster's, but even more so on crack. But the minute we all stopped going to arcades and started sitting in our house and playing video games at home, that whole business, from arcades to LAN cafes to those high-end places, all started fucking going out of business because their food was shit and overpriced, and I didn't need their entertainment anymore. So all this guy is doing is going, well, GameWorks just did it wrong. I'm going to do it right. And he's going to spend even more money building a fucking Ready Player One thing that we just don't need, or not enough people will use every day in that city to keep the fucking lights on, right? I just don't know where they think.
Astronomical investment. The overheads would be mental. You'd need a whole fucking nuclear power plant to run the place. And like, just, the technology, the build out would be exorbitant. I don't know.
It may be one in one city or two, but like, you're going to roll one of these out into 32. So 32 means every metropolitan city, big city, decently sized in our country and Canada. That's insane. Why? Like, you would put this in Las Vegas, right? And then maybe it's a destination thing to go with all the other destination-y type shit. Or you put it in Orlando, destination-y kind of shit. But to put one in LA and Dallas and Chicago and in Miami and in New York and Phoenix, you gonna put it in Phoenix? Call us. Call me. We'll get involved for sure, because, we'll overcharge you to help you build it. But it just seems like, it just seems really silly to me. And we tried to, supposedly they have broken ground for the Los Angeles location. Can't find a picture, can't find an address, can't find a single photo of this is our new place. All just render shit. So I don't know. It just seems, and I hate when they spell shit like this. When you spell glitch like this, GLY, like fuck you, like you're not clever. Anyway, glitch.
Okay. So this is fine, I suppose. So they say that their unique angle is melding esports stadiums with location-based entertainment and live broadcasting. Generally, esports stadiums and live broadcasting are already melded because that is the purpose of having a venue for that. So fair enough. Location-based entertainment. I happen to have a little bit of experience with geolocation and esports.
Yeah, you do.
While it can offer some opportunities that otherwise are not available to you, one thing we discovered was that the demand in particular locales does not match up to, like, I don't believe that, like, they have really done a proper case study on these 32 locations to see if there would actually be a need or sufficient inflow of custom to justify this investment. I would be shocked. It sounds like an idea. Look, when you develop a business idea, you really are supposed to be using a fairly well detailed rubric. And one of the first things you do is you talk about what kind of need there is. You know what I mean? Like what kind of niche this is going to fill. So you build your fucking arenas. That's fine. This is not even the issue for me. It's just, you already aren't paying your employees in what is theoretically a fairly low overhead context in sort of running Noble. And you want to do something on this scale. Like, I don't believe in Kyle McDougal's ability to run anything. I don't even want him to run the fucking tap, Scott.
Well, I mean, I would just say put your Van Silly hat on for a second and think if all those Overwatch teams would have had a glitch home arena. Just think.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't have done it for me. Personally, wouldn't have done it for me. I mean, I guess, like, for them, I mean, they would have liked to have us there, I'm sure, because it would have justified their existence. They would have been able to command, like, a decent fee for the use of the arena. But
when I did read that they're talking to teams and trying to do some sort of locality with this, but that's not enough. Even if Cloud9 blessed your LA venue and showed up all the time, $54 million entertainment venue. I think, and I get the sell of it, right? Like to be less critical of the actual idea and how insanely overproduced it is. I get that what we all care about and what we like in our industry and our hobbies, video games, you know, anime, comic books, like we're no longer stuck in the dark. Like they all want to entertain us, right? They all like us. So I get how it'd be easy to sell a big mainstream arcade because we have barcades and everything's out in the open now in that sense, right? We're not, geeks are money now, not to be pushed aside, but to be, oh, you need this collectible of this collectible of this collectible, and I got these battery collectibles for your new game. You know, people buy all that shit. So I see how someone would make this arena and put all these like fan service checkboxes into our little world, right? But again, and I read somewhere in one of these articles that the idea was that you and your family would treat this like a trip to Disney. People will go to Disney and they'll spend a day in a park and they'll ride rides and they'll eat food and they'll do all this inter-family and friend activity and they'll get their money's worth. Then they'll hop in their car and they'll go home, right? And it'll be just like that for a different generation of people. And I'm like, you motherfuckers, like, you're not going to get all the IP that Disney has. You're not going to get all the shit that they sell. Like, it's like they missed the fucking forest, right? Like, it's not going to be a theme park in the same way, right? Especially when half the theme park I can play at home just as well on my PC or on whatever. So, again, it'd be interesting if they open 1. It'll be interesting if they open 2. And it'll be insane if they open more than 10. That's what I'll say.
Whatever. It's not my money. Like,
yeah, true.
Again, like, you know, we things that we call out here is like just fucking dumb. You know, it's not my money. So this would probably, in my opinion, probably something that we might get a couple of locations put up. But I'd love to know what the runway is, right?
Yeah.
It'd have to be a pretty long runway. I know runways for theme parks and such are quite long.
Yeah.
In terms of that initial recoupment and then sort of really start to turn that profit. They have to be. So build it, see what happens. I would even check it out. I just don't really, I don't know. Lately, we're talking a lot on social media about things that are not necessary, I guess. Maybe that's just like the mindset that our community has started to adopt about things that are just being invented for the sake of it. So,
yeah,
you know, this is all a bit much. The render is a bit much. I'd be very interested to compare the actual embodiment of what their esports stadium should look like to the render, because that is obviously supposed to attract someone. I guess I don't know who the fuck would be interested in that, but someone with money might be. So, you know, it's fine. Like I said, our issue is not with this. It's about with Noble, and this is one of the things that they are quote unquote diversified into. So that I'm concerned about the stewardship of anything touched by this Kyle McDougal guy, because he's just a fucking shitlord.
Yeah.
Genuinely a shitlord. It's just so perfect that he's named Kyle and he's been fucking liking this mugger shit on Twitter.
Fucking Kyle.
Know? Whatever. You guys, people like you, people like Kyle, I guess you're allowed to have money. You're allowed to try and build your toys, but you're just you're a weirdo. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I guess we talk about this kind of shit because we see this money as wasted. We see it as potential good money that could be spent from investors or sponsors or advertisers or interested people that when the nuts and bolts of this bus still aren't fucking tight, you want to spend on that. And like you see this shit, like the last thing we need is another esports arena. Really, like we just don't need it. It's just, we'll see what happens. Let's move on to some gaming news. Lost Ark dropped in the Western world. I caveat that because it's not a brand new game. It has been out. It's not a new title, if you will. But it is buzzing. You played this. Let's talk about this a little bit. Lost Ark. And in chat, let us know if you're playing it.
Yeah, so obviously this is a game that was already pretty successful in Asia and in Russia as an action RPG, right? So think Diablo or Path of Exile, for example. The timing's very good for Lost Ark because I think it's really filling the niche that Diablo 4 was intended to fill. And basically, it's not developed by Amazon Game Studios, but it is ported by them. So they are the publisher here in the West for this game. There are a lot of people I know that have played it already. I mean, I saw like Yamato Cannon was tweeting he played like 500 hours of it on Russia. Over the last couple of years, there's been a real, maybe this has always been the case, but I've been more aware of it, a real push, you know, in the ARPG genre as a result of Path of Exile, right? A live service ARPG that has leaderboards and seasons, much like Diablo 3 did. And that there are a lot of people that really love the genre. They love to theory craft it. They love to min-max it as much as possible. We're not just talking speed runs. We're talking like hardcore runs where if you die, you are dead, right? And, you know, build paths and mechanics and sort of all this sort of stuff was like there was a real community burgeoning around taking the ARP genre as far as they possibly could. Lost Ark, I think, you know, invites an expansion upon that concept because it does have a you know, an MMO aspect to it as well. You are running around, you are doing quests, right? There is PvP, for example, which I think many consider to be pretty robust. All I did was I booted the game up, started playing, and I was like, I don't play much ARPGs. I really the last one I played was Diablo 2, mate. I didn't even play Path of Exile. I didn't play Diablo 3. I jumped in, I played a bunch, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. I love the sort of class fantasy about paladins, for example, just their concept, and the paladin in this game is really interesting. I quite enjoy it. Motherfucker holds a book, has a big sword, can't complain. So I think the class fantasies are really, people are quite interested in those. And again, a pretty robust Twitch marketing campaign, which is something that Amazon Game Studios have shown they're pretty good at doing. If you want to look at New World, that was huge. And guys like Asmongold turn their stream on, get 150,000 viewers before it even goes, you know, live, and he's just fucking laughing. Extra Life in the same way, because obviously the people are guaranteed drops for tuning in. So there's a huge degree of symbiosis here. But the game is good. The art style is good. It's gritty. It's edgy. Big fucking spiky armor. All that sort of stuff. The combat though is fun. Like it generally it's fun. ARPGs normally have less ability buttons than something like World of Warcraft, right? But it definitely tickles that MMO itch, but gives you more of this sort of rollicking, fast-paced, wave-based, large-scale, you versus the horde combat, which people are fans of ARPGs like. So it gets a thumbs up from me. But you know, I'd agree with Imagine in the chat is that it doesn't necessarily revolutionize the genre, to my knowledge. And again, I'm a bit of a casual when it comes to ARPGs.
Gotcha. And obviously, as you guys saw those numbers, it did blow up. It did really well. And again, what a lot. If I say "and again" to make fun of saying "and again," does that count as an "and again"? Or only when I accidentally say the "and again"?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, you can make fun of yourself, I guess, but repeating the same thing that you said. But yeah, it doesn't make you forget the fact you said it in the first place, kind of thing. So it's like correction.
What I was gonna say was, what they did is they let anybody get the drops. All you had to do was connect your stuff. It wasn't like, hey, these 50 streamers that we think are cool can be involved in launch day fun stuff. You know, a lot of devs do it that way, and only the rich get richer, if you will. Whereas this game is not like that, which obviously leads to probably the viewership numbers being even higher. Very, very cool in that sense. And then my question, Mitch, these numbers, you mentioned New Order, similar launch, similar numbers. New World, not New World. I love New Order, though. Good band. New World. What are we looking at in Lost Ark in 3 months, chat and Mitch? Is it going to dump and be dead, or does this game have something that New World, obviously, once the shine wore off, didn't have to keep people playing it?
Well, New World had nothing at endgame, and it had a crippling economy problem where it had a crippling deflationary economy problem where you basically couldn't make enough gold from endgame content. This is partly because sort of Outpost Rush was disabled, that the markets froze because no one wanted to spend gold because it was so hard to come by. So crafting gear was pointless because you couldn't fucking sell it because no one would part with the money. No one would part with the gold for it. Yes, they made a big, and there are obviously a ton of bugs, like duplication bugs and just a lot of issues because of that. But the end game was pretty fucking shit. I don't know if it is now, but it's too late, unfortunately. It goes to show that now in this world of Twitch streamer marketing, your game could fucking blow up in the first week, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot. I think really, you know, if you're Amazon Game Studio, you definitely hope to sell founders packs here because that's what allows you to play the game now as opposed to on the 11th, right? You would have been able to play all yesterday as well. So you get in early by buying a founders pack, right? Otherwise, I think the game is free to play or much cheaper than that. Pretty standard stuff here. I mean, I pre-purchased New World in order to play it early, and I burnt out playing the fucking beta of the damn thing. So pretty standard technique here for selling, but this is very Amazon Game Studios. They understand Twitch marketing. Obviously, they own Twitch, so it all makes a ton of sense. It's very, streamlined sort of pathway. But my question is about the end game. I'm not there yet. I haven't got to the end of the game, but it's fucking nice. It's like it's a fucking gorgeous game for an ARPG. And I think the genre needs a revamp. It needs some action. Diablo 4 is still being polished, to my understanding. That's public knowledge, by the way. So, I don't know how long we're waiting on that, especially with the whole Kotick drama. That slowed things up in that regard a lot. I know that I have friends on the Diablo 4 dev team, and I know morale there was fucking shot. Absolutely shot. So, Lost Ark right now is reveling in the glory that Diablo 4 could have had.
Yeah.
The question is, again, what's the end game like? If they are like Path of Exile, that really hardcore ARPG people that love to grind, that understood the game really well, that love to min-max, that love to think about the gems, the sockets, the affixes, all that, the survival runs. They'll love that game, but that is a very small percentage of overall place, right? Right now, what you're trying to do with this marketing is appeal to the casual person like me, and it worked. I fucking bought the Founders Pack to play the game. Will I keep playing in the end game? It's unlikely. I've got too many other things to do, right?
Well, I saw a tweet with Co involved and a bunch of people, and I think Co was asking like, "What's the end game like in this game?" And someone linked him to a video of like the final or one of the final boss battles that you get into. I have never watched anything so complicated in my entire goddamn life. The shit that these 8 people had to do for the raid, yeah, and it just kept going, and like all the raid conditions of getting wiped. No, but people were even saying like this was insane compared to that, even like how perfect you had to do. Again, it blew me away, and I'd seen a little of the World of Warcraft raiding, but this was insane. Even the people on the thread were like, holy fuck me. Anyway, really, really intense to beat that particular character.
Good, I think, by the way.
Yeah. What was that?
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. That's what they were saying. Like, this is what you have to look forward to. This is insane to get to this point. Because, again, people have been playing this for quite a while in Korea. And Chober was chiming in because he plays it over there and has been playing it for a while. All right. One more topic, folks, before we get to the main event after the break. Hector's here today. Happy birthday, Hector. Here for a big interview, talking all things OpTic, Envy, Pine Park, you name it. But before we get to that,
I've got so many questions.
Very excited about that. One more feel-good story. Our man Pasha Biceps right here.
Not for everyone.
Not for everybody, but one guy. Well, one team of people. Obviously, he's got a crew that helps him fight. But yeah, Pasha, you watch this? Did you see this fight over the weekend?
I know. So it was pay-per-view. So no, I didn't purchase access to watch this fight though. But I sort of read plenty of eyewitness accounts of the occurrence. I didn't know that Pasha had been training as an MMA fighter. He's always been a real advocate for fitness and health in the esports industry, and was immediately someone that I looked up to. The Virtus Pro team that featured him, Neo, Taz, Bialy, my favorite Counter-Strike team of all time. I was just an unabashed fanboy. I had the opportunity to meet with Pasha. I was in Poland doing a World of Tanks event, meeting with Carmack, and he's old mates with Pasha. So I ended up getting froyo with Carmack and Pasha at some fucking mall in Warsaw. That was great. He's the loveliest guy. Fucking love this guy. Seriously. He is the person that he sort of appears to be. He's a family man, passionate Counter-Strike guy, just all around great human. And obviously the whole community got behind him right in this fight by engaging in a social media behavior that actually originated from the Polish scene, which is just changing your Twitter profile picture to that person.
Yep.
Everyone did it. It happened in League of Legends with the Polski Gurom thing. But yeah, he's like, hey, everybody like changed their profile to me, and I'm very grateful. You gave me the support. I need to win this fight. He didn't just win the fight, by the way. He fucked on his opponent by breaking his eye socket and causing him retinal problems. Like this guy, so fucking nasty that he almost put an eye out. Unreal.
Yeah. And again, I had the pleasure of talking to him many times over the years on the Counter-Strike circuit. And to your point, so genuine, so like that whole thing about I am your friend, my brother, my friend, not an act, not bullshit, like would literally rip the shirt off his back for anybody who asked. Just an absolute sweetheart. And I think in some regards, Eastern Europeans sometimes get this gruff stereotype that they're all like just really angry and mean, and he certainly looks angry and mean, but like he's not. He is like a teddy bear, and that roster, just literally a bunch of sweethearts too in general, right? And tragic how a car basically drove a wedge between that crew and all sorts of other drama, but very unfortunate. But great stuff. And again, I think what's also really funny, I said it, I'm sorry. See, I'm aware of it at least. What he's also been doing, I want to say it's either his brother or his brother-in-law. And he's been helping.
One's his brother.
Is it his actual brother?
Problem.
Everyone.
No, yeah. Big guy, weight problem guy, right? And so months ago, he started tweeting pictures of, and he's helping him. He's training him, and every so often you get an update, and he's lost 20 pounds, and he's lost 20 more pounds, and like again, he's gotten him working out and stuff with him. Just again, such a amazing human being Pasha is, and and kick that guy's ass. So congratulations, and the entire Counter-Strike world wouldn't have changed their profile picture for a lot of people, right? The Counter-Strike, the company wouldn't have changed for a lot of players deciding to be fighters, right? And Pasha's just a special guy. And again, we always like to try to find one little, like, nothing to bitch about story, right? Like, this is just awesome. Except if you're that one guy or a relative or you work for that one guy, you don't like Pasha. But tough shit, get better, right? Get better. Don't suck so much. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, though, the first live interview on the Breakdown, we're going to try to do this fairly often. Hector Rodriguez, the man, the myth, OpTic, Envy, Pine Park, all sorts of stuff happening in this man's life. Hector after the break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Breakdown. After our first half of the show, we're going to cover a lot of the odds and ends of what's going on in esports this week. Some feel good, some feel bad stories. This one's definitely going to be more on the good side. But, first time we've had a guest on the show, quite exciting, of course. I want you to intro them because you know them better than I do.
Yeah, so when I started the show a couple years ago, I always had in my mind that I would try to start doing some interviews, writing people I wanted to talk to or people I thought the audience would want to talk to or something that was topical. So I started doing it at the end of the first run of this show, was able to get DJ Weed on, got Henry G on, and then got Fish Sticks on a little bit, and then obviously pandemic. So I wanted to get that going again, and once we kind of felt comfortable in the new studio, new set, new everything. So been trying to get Hector on for about a month. Had some scheduling issues, and then last week our man caught the mighty COVID, so he had to cancel last minute day of. Sick as a dog. He's going to talk about that. But yeah, Hector Rodriguez, OG at this point. When I first met him, he was a young ripper snapper coming after esports and on the heels of us that were already doing it. But certainly by now has made his bones in this industry beyond maybe all the OGs before him, right? From what he built with OpTic to what he's done with not only the OpTic brand through several iterations. We're going to get some clarity on the timeline of OpTic too. And now he's expanded into Pine Park. He's getting into marijuana, cultivation, all that kind of stuff. And again, always future forward looking guy, always having great conversations with him. So he was the top of my list to get first. And I'm just really excited to have him. Let's bring his ass on here. Maybe. There he is. He's right there. I can see him. Hello. How are you, sir?
Here I am.
Here you are. How are you, Hector? How you feeling?
I'm good. Not better. This little area right here was where I slept for the past 4 days. I stayed at my garage where I keep my boat for the good 7 of those days. So I've been quarantined pretty heavily.
All right. So this is going to be loose. We don't have a whole list of questions. I put kind of more of a chronological order of kind of areas of your life I want to talk about, and Mitch will chime in along the way. So this will be kind of chronological, ending in the now and into the future, Pine Park, etc. So let's get into it. Before Hecz, the gamer, the guy we all know behind OpTic, and this always really intrigued me about you. Tell me about Hector, the young artist, Hector, the graphic guy, Hector, the guy maybe getting arrested or maybe getting in trouble for tagging buildings and shit, right? It really intrigues me, this part of you, because I don't know much about it. So I'm going to ask you a lot of shit that I don't know the answers to.
Well, you know, the rumor has it that growing up, I did paint. I think it's trains though, not necessarily buildings.
Okay.
Yes, rumor has it.
Rumor
But yeah,
has it.
I grew up in the '90s, man. The best era to ever grow up in. I was born in 1980. I'm 42 years old as of today.
Happy.
And I grew up in I was born in El Paso, Texas, but I grew up in a city called Juarez, Mexico. I mean, if you've seen any cartel movie, that's where I grew up until 1993, when my parents kidnapped me and brought me to the coldest place on earth called Chicago, Illinois. Well, the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. But I always had this like artistic itch about everything. Like I just love anything that was visually appealing: cartoons, graphics, logos, brands. You know, stuff, 80s Americana of sorts. And what intrigued me about graffiti was the connection that it had and how competitive it was with everything that surrounded and sort of encompassed graffiti. So by the time that I got to my first junior high school, Holmes Junior High School in Wheeling, Illinois, I didn't know how to speak English, right? It took me about 6 months to truly break through truly like sort of rewire my brain to think in two different languages. It took me about another year or so to lose my accent. Maybe not completely at first, but by the time that I got to my freshman year of high school, they said you can't be an ESL anymore, and I was like, why not? And I'm like, well, you know, you don't belong here. And I was like, all right, well, let's go wherever I need to go. So I went into the regular school system, and everything was a breeze from there.
Now, again, for those at home that aren't familiar with the non-tournament organizing
English
term,
is a second language.
ESL, English is a second language, exactly. I'm like, what'd you do with ESL in Germany? Crazy. So, and I want to bring this up because it's very selfish of Jason and I. We got a brand new office here, Hector, and one of these days you're going to come visit us, and we're going to give you some of our walls, and we would love you to do some sort of our little characters named Peaky. We want to do some sort of Peaky do not peek thing with you, and obviously pay you for your artistic time, but definitely I'm saving some space for you to get out here and help us decorate with some really cool art. And so I'm going to ask you this now before we get into all this stuff, but I want you to put your now hat on. So going forward in all your projects, you know, from OpTic to any business you've been involved with, a huge part of what we all do when we're doing stuff, I need a logo, I need this made. Have you found it remarkably more easy? Because some stuff you can do yourselves. Like for me, I'm not that guy. So I'm always like, oh no, can you move this? Can you tweak that? But you speak that language to all your creatives, right? So it has to make getting some of that stuff back from people that you now hire way easier. Does that make sense what I'm asking? Because you're kind of on the same vibe, whereas I'm not an artist and I'm not on that vibe.
Yeah, look, it's much easier when you are an artist to visualize exactly what it is that you have in mind for a project. And most of the time, I can honestly say that 99.999% of any of the ideas that I have for OpTic have been executed by somebody else. The idea itself obviously came more than likely from me. But once I got comfortable with with the artistic crew surrounding OpTic, then obviously like I sort of let them run with, as far as the graphics go. It's a lot easier, but when it comes to like our artistic direction and all that, from the beginning, it was very, very, all hands on deck with one man's vision.
Gotcha. Moving forward, you obviously took that artistic stuff. You became a gamer. You fell in love with gaming like all of us. And what we found was a lot of early Hector content was not in-game stuff, but like you were like painting 360s and faceplates and all this kind of stuff as part of the beginning of kind of your content creation journey. You weren't just making montages and all that kind of stuff. So very, again, interesting the way how you brought your art to gaming, I guess.
Look, there was never going to be a time in which I stopped being something that's so coded in me. So for me, it was about sort of incorporating what I love doing with something that I love doing and something that I love doing. What I mean by that is art plus gaming, plus content creation on YouTube. Graffiti has always been about word of mouth and getting your name out there. So I wasn't a stranger to a fame of sorts because I had been working on my name literally for over a decade. And when it came down to it, I saw gaming as a creative outlet more than anything. And from the style of gameplay to like absolutely everything that we did has always been sort of surrounded about how can we make this look different than what other people are doing, right? How can this thing be presented in a way that hasn't already been presented? It's really easy to deliver the news and just read just tell you what happened, right? If we're gonna make an announcement, for example, right? It wasn't up until we sort of came along that all of the little surprises and all the little montages and all the little announcements that you see nowadays are presented in the way that they were. It was really easy for orgs back in the day to just make a sort of twit longer website link to a company letterhead, company message out to the world, right? I felt that was a little bit not my style, so we from the beginning wanted to present it a different way, not sort of doctor the truth or mold it. Mold it. You sort of reshape it into something different. So that was the approach from the very, very beginning.
And then when do you go from content creators and a bunch of dudes to a bunch of dudes competing and like taking the esports side of it, the green wall, the fandom in that way? When does that kind of turn? And where did the green wall itself, that terminology, like originate from?
It was December of 2010 at the Hilton Anatol here in Dallas. That was the birth of the green wall, and originally the green wall was myself, my brother, my still teammate to this day, Diesel, and like 4 other people that were all wearing the OpTic, the first ever OpTic jerseys, and they were green. And our opponent, who's still a really, really good friend of mine, his name is Ego the Icon. You've got into a bunch of fights with him. He sort of called us that. He's the one that coined what we were. The green wall standing behind the players. And I'm like, yeah, awesome. So we were the first, and rightfully so, right? I've always been a big fan of OpTic, right? Like it's to me, as much as it's a part of me, like I've always looked at it from a fan's perspective, right? Because I envisioned this thing that could be. So I've always been a big fan of that, and that I think that made it easier for me to approach everything from a not only a creative standpoint, but also from a passionate standpoint, a passion for sports, a passion for team. And it's easy growing up in Chicago in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan, right? And if you lived there, you knew what it was to be a fan of the Bulls. You knew what it was like to be a fan of an icon, and I thought that we could replicate that in esports.
So we bump into each other in that time frame. That's it, we all commingled at those MLG events, right? First, when we came as Gotfrag and we were doing some production, but then literally when Gotfrag gets bought by MLG, we start doing PC tournaments, and then later, obviously, me and Evil Geniuses, we all floated around each other a lot. And I remember one of our first conversations, and we've even talked about this since, was because you brought it up I was on your podcast a couple years ago called The Eavesdrop, which you're still doing. Well, again, prolific content creator. You're just fucking phenomenal, by the way. And you brought up that Fwiz and I, because we talk about Fwiz all the time, he's been in the news lately, got in a big old fight over your guys' jerseys, right? This is when Fwiz was on OpTic, and you guys had the first ever paintball jerseys. Like, we had not seen this look. We all had t-shirts with we were NASCARs, and you were like this crazy paintball logo, stylistic, not a lot of logos of sponsors paying your bills, mind you, but man, your shit looked fly. It reflected, it was all that glossy, different texture than, again, we had blue t-shirts, right? But we had a whole lot of fucking money on our shirt. But you had really cool shirts. I remember, I was like, what the fuck are you wearing a paintball shirt for, Fwiz? Boy, how the tables have turned, and I remember you on that podcast, you gave an analogy that you went and pitched SteelSeries, and you didn't understand why in the hell SteelSeries cared about the EGs and the complexities of the world, if you will, our side of it, the PC side of it. And yes, we played more PC games than you, but you had all these metrics, all like these eyeballs, and we did not have that. We had a website, right? And for us, content was an afterthought. You made a video because you were at the event, but you were at the event to make videos. It was literally night and day. And I think in all reality, you guys have kind of won. You and Nate Shot, like I think you found the better formula of competitive teams and like fan service, right? I think maybe the first generation, if you will, the EGs, the SKs, the complexities, we didn't hit that mark, I think, in the same way. I think they're still playing catch up to you. So my question is, how do you feel now about that SteelSeries conversation and how them like kind of saying tough shit?
Vindicated, right? I mean, it was a common sense thing for me. And look, I think it's just a changing of the tides, and not necessarily everybody is sort of prepared to pivot and prepare to be as fluid as you could imagine to want to be, right? Like you see yourself as like, yeah, I think I'm flexible enough to understand that this thing's moving and I need to move with it. Easy to say that, but actually to believe it and perform it is something completely different. And we saw it recently, as recent as, I don't know, 3 to 4 years ago in fishing, right? With my brothers over at the Googan squad. Googan squad being a very large, probably the largest soft baits company in the United States for fishing, right? Mm-hmm. And they saw the same thing. They had all of these metrics where one single YouTuber had more Instagram followers than an entire pro team sponsored by one single brand. And when they went out and said, hey, you can sponsor all of us, they said, sorry, we only sponsor pros. And we are all, well, I wasn't, but everybody was like, what? And I'm like, guys, no worries. This has happened. It happened in gaming. I'm sure it's happened in football. It's happened in, it's happened. This is something new. They've never seen this thing. Right. And sure enough, right, social media rules the airwaves, right? It's no longer TV and radio, and unless you're on Do Not Peak, and obviously we're here in with the TVs. But at the end of the day, I told them, I'm like, guys, you no shot that you don't win in the end.
Yeah.
Right. No shot that you don't win in the end. Right. And sure enough, you fast forward 4 years, and through the hard work of the John B's, the Robert Turklas, the Andrew Flairs, the Perricks, the whole crew, you sort of start to realize, right, that with knowledgeable people like Lake Fork Guy and everybody involved in this thing, that if you follow what you believe is true, if you follow a trend that you know is something that's going to be a thing, then at the end of the day, you're not going to be regretful of whether or not you pursued something. It would have been a shame if that sponsor would have sponsored that team. Because the Googan brand would have exploded as it did. So when SteelSeries said, "Hey, we sell PC peripherals," I'm like, "Yeah, well, everybody that watches us makes YouTube videos. They need PCs, they need peripherals." They're like, "Yeah, I just don't see it." I'm like, "Okay, well, how about I simplify this for you?" And I brought the trophy to the meeting, and I've set it in the middle, and I said, "If we don't win one of these, right? If we don't win one of these on a Sunday, I can still deliver 400,000 views on a Tuesday morning. Can any of the other teams say that they can't do that?" And they're like, "We get it, but how do we explain this thing?" And I'm like, "Cool, I shot my shot."
Yep.
And then the rest is history. Now, what do they do?
Again, like you guys were like esport influencers. I hate the word influencers in that sense, but like because you had content creators and you had pros, and they were all mixed, and sometimes it was the exact same person. And now, obviously, every esports team has a corral of content creator influencers that don't compete in anything. They're just streamers or whatever you want to call them. So yeah, again, you were very forward thinking. Before I
let me ask you something, Scott. Sorry to just interrupt.
Yeah.
What do you think's harder, right? Do you think it's harder to become and we'll use influencer even though we both don't like it? Is it tougher to become an influencer nowadays that the ground has been paved? or was it harder back then where we were building the tools to pave the ground that people are now running on?
Oh man, I think I would say harder back then because you weren't rewarded for building the tools at the time. There was not a lot of money to be made. It was all sweat. We were all sweat equity and everything. Right now, the problem would be discoverability, right? So many more people out there doing it. But man, if you hit, you're on Johnny Carson. You're a millionaire, right? You couldn't have hit 10 years ago and been a millionaire. There was no ninja money or whatever name you want to use 10 years ago for this, right? And now, again, a couple well-timed things and you're done. You're set for life in a way, right? Which is crazy.
You think it's easier now?
No, I think it can be more. It's more rewarding now if you get discovered, but discoverability, like big pond now, big huge pond, lots of people swimming. But if you can break out, you can now be rewarded for life. Whereas if you broke out 10 years ago, you just get a trophy and say, "Here's your lifetime achievement award." Like, thanks for everything you did, and everybody else will get rich, right? You don't have one of those, Mitch. Hector and I have one of those. Maybe one day. One day you'll have one of those, maybe.
I have two. I have two.
You only have one lifetime achievement award, though. Heck, they didn't give you two yet.
Oh yeah, only one
Holy
one
shit.
halftime achievement award.
Yes, yeah. I loved how you called it that because it is for you. Me, I'm almost dead, but you got plenty of shot. Mitch.
I was almost dead a couple of days ago.
Yeah, that's true. Chronological order. Before we go any further, do you have any questions for this part of Hector's life?
Look, I really want to delve into, because you talked about how you were able to sort of forge a path to success via your approach, and it was like a longer term thing, right? You kind of had to wait until these brands started to come around and understand just how potent and effective and important the reach that you could generate was over the label of pro. But eventually you guys were pro as well, you know what I mean? And eventually, you know, maybe one of the signs of success is that you started wading into territory that for many people in esports was maybe not that familiar. We're talking big corporations, we're talking VC, we're talking large injections of money. You know, I think, and look, the OpTic brand as well has been intertwined with a lot of different esports or non-esports brands over time, right? We could say Immortals, NRG, the Houston Outlaws, you know, now Envy. I'd love like an idea of like when this started happening, like when you actually started to have these conversations with big brands like Infinite, for example, who obviously were the parent company of OpTic for a time. What's the timeline of when you guys started to realize this shit is real and you had to start having conversations about, you know, a lot of zeros next to that dollar sign?
Well, it was in 2016. It was August of 2016 was the first time that we had a meeting with investors. 2016, very, very, very important point here. In 2016 was the first time that I considered taking investment. Up until that point, my Counter-Strike team, my Gears of War team, my Call of Duty team, my Halo team, they were, and all the influencers, they were all paid by this thing up here, right? So as much as the original brands that were around that didn't want to give us money, you know how you have that vision. It's like, all right, I'm giving to you giving a good deal to you right now, but next year OpTic's going to be more expensive, so you can either take us now at $250 a year, or it's going to be expensive next year. Well, by the time that 2014 and 2015 rolled around, I asked for whatever I wanted, and I got whatever I wanted, right? Because everybody wanted to touch that, right? So in 2016 was the beginning of 2016, but in August was the first time we had an investment conversation. The reason that I brag about that is because you look at every other big team and big what do you consider big brands in esports, their investments came in early 2014, 2015. Yeah. So they were way ahead of the game and the right marks over there. And because we were a Call of Duty team primarily, right? People were a little bit like, oh, you know, well, are they really esports? And I guess people back then didn't understand what I saw so clearly, right? That as long as the eyeballs are there, as long as the interest and the passion from the fans are there, who are we? Can we talk about mobile yet? You know what I mean? Like it confuses me when people even worry about mobile gaming as if it's not going to dominate at one point. So for me, it was like it was all a matter of patience, and what those early conversations with like the likes of Steel Series, etc., taught me was patience, right? And I was already 29 when OpTic was turned into a corporation in 2009. So by the time that I was 33, like I had already lived a corporate life. I had already, I was living with my now wife. I had a kid, so like I was an adult, and I understood the power of patience, which helped me teach Nate Shot the power of patience, Big Timer, Scump, all of my boys the power of patience and what it takes to get to a certain spot. So I think that I had gifts that gave me an advantage. And I think patience was like one of the big ones. So in 2016 was when we first started talking to that. By the end of 2017, when we won our first Call of Duty championship, world championship, we have the most Call of Duty championships ever. Okay, ever. Still to this day, ever. So everybody that talks their shit about content is like, shut up. Okay,
yeah, you
shut
got
up.
the rings to go with it.
You don't know. Like you're preaching to me, goddammit, as if I haven't done this thing for 10 years. But that's when we did the transaction with Infinite. The whole concept of parent company and all that shit wasn't even a thought of mine, because who would, regardless of my thoughts on that. A series of unfortunate event happens that led us to where we're at today. So we had Infinite sold to the West Coast, and then I bought it back from the West Coast, and now we have here the one thing that I've learned in this series of, as I mentioned, unfortunate events, is that a lot of people put a lot of emphasis and a lot of sort of focus into what's behind the curtain. And to me, that's a little bit of a like wasted sort of time. Like, yeah, is it a talking point? Sure, let's talk about it. But to make, to waste time talking about that instead of creating the shows that people actually want to watch, the ones that actually get viewership, the ones that focus on the players, that's what they do. But the amount of people that really cared about like the back end stuff, the business stuff, like mind-boggling to me to this day.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was my next 5 questions, was about the behind the scenes of the financials. I'm gonna cross.
Yeah, well, no, something more interesting. I like up in front of the curtain for the thing that I've always noticed about OpTic, and I played PC Call of Duty, started a COD 2, so dimly aware of sort of the Call of Duty scene and OpTic's growth. You cannot, you cannot ignore. No matter where you come from, no matter where you are, you cannot ignore the impact of a brand like OpTic, right? The fans, it's insane. It's like, I've seen it. You pick up a new team in any esport, right? And all of a sudden the Twitch chat, the very next time they play, is full. People turn up. OpTic fans especially vote with their feet. They will go and watch a game they've never even fucking heard of because the brand is there. And I guess, like, I want to understand from your perspective how you've created a brand. Like, what principles do you use to create such a compelling product that people will cross digital miles in order to witness? Like, you had a League of Legends team, the Counter-Strike team, like these guys who were just COD fans beforehand turn up and watch a CS team. They don't know what's going on. Doesn't matter. OpTic's playing. How, I guess, like, what principles led you to creating such a juggernaut where it just broke boundaries and borders inside gaming in general?
Look, and I can say to this day that we're probably like one of the only teams that have been able to be successful in sort of migrating the interest of whatever esport it is that we're playing. And I think that it all boils down to the fact that from the beginning, I wanted to make sure that I created something that was in front of the camera. Growing up, I didn't have a camera phone. Growing up, I didn't have a YouTube that I can display my basketball games in or my graffiti in. Like, I never had that. So when the tool was there for me to utilize, I said, OpTic is going to be a forward-facing brand. They're going to know who the guy running the show is. They're going to know what his life is all about and how he approaches this thing. And I think that that's ultimately what he did it. And it gave and it gave true ownership to the green wall, right? It gave true ownership of the product, of the team, of the brand that they were getting behind, right? And it was never a sort of I don't know. I think me ruling with an iron fist was also very, very much a a pillar of what we built, right? Like there was no room for drama, and every single one of my players has heard me, well, especially like back in the early days, has heard me say, "You're never gonna put OpTic in jeopardy. You're never gonna put me putting food on my table for my daughter in jeopardy." So anytime that you think that you're fucking up, or anytime that you think that you did something that's gonna affect that thing up there, you have to be the one that leaves, and you're going to have to be the one that takes the full blame, and you're going to be the one that fucking is accountable for your own actions, because it is not fair for your teammates. It is not fair for me, for sure, that you chose to be a dick in whatever format you want to pick. And from the beginning, that was a very, very, very strict rule that I would have never bent for, ever bent for. So from the beginning, it was all about, this is what we are. Very, very honest with everybody. This is exactly what we are. Okay. We're Midwestern dudes that like to play video games and live a certain kind of way, right? We're not, we're just not partiers. We're just not, we're nothing that isn't on camera, right? And we all sort of believed in that one focus. We believe that we are a family, and we executed well. We executed very, very well.
I think you kind of answered your own question as to why we cared so much about your behind the scenes stuff and the drama about Infinite and Energy and what's happened to the OpTic brand, because you are not some corpo unattached humanistic brand in our space, right? It's Hector and it's OpTic, right? So we were very interested in what was going on with Hector, and I think a lot of your fan base was maybe like, is Hector being screwed? Is this good for Hector? Is Hector happy with this? And obviously, you made all the choices, and you got yourself back, and mistakes have been made. You and I have talked about that stuff. And like last time when we were doing your show, you had just gotten it all back, right? And you were very excited. You got it all back. But I think if the exact same set of VC stumbles, or whatever you want to call that 2-year, 3-year journey, happens to a lot of other brands in North American esports, no one does give a shit about that, because they don't have you.
Fair.
Right?
Faceless brand.
Yeah, like you are indelibly, and I think that it probably hurt OpTic as a brand when you weren't so active with it in your absence, because you are indelibly attached. And you could say like, okay, Jason Lake is a little attached to Complexity, and certainly was more so back in the day. And Carlos is a little attached, certainly as a spokesman of G2, but I don't think in the same way, and certainly not Jack and Andy and those two. You from the ground up decades ago, you built something, because you were the face too. You weren't just the CEO face. You were the creator. You were all of those things. And again, I think that's why we're all like, "What the fuck's going on with OpTic?" And it didn't look good for a while, right? It didn't look good for a while. It's like you had lost your baby.
It didn't feel good either.
Yeah. So now I want to get back. I keep bringing up the eavesdrop. Oh yeah, go ahead.
If you want to ask him about this time, if you want to ask Hector about this bullshit with VC and back and forth, you better ask him the question.
I mean, I do.
Ask me the question.
I want to ask. I want to know what the turning point. I want to know.
Was the juice worth the squeeze?
I love that movie. Oh my God, Hector, you're like one of my favorite humans. You got to ask yourself, Joel? Was it Joel? Joel?
I think
The Girl
so.
Next Door, by the way. If you don't know the movie he's quoting, young Tim Oliphant. Great actor, great role.
A great actor.
I think you're stalling, Scott.
No. What I want to ask. You sat the longest, right? In the sense of taking outside money. And maybe you had friends and family help behind the scenes. I don't know. We're not even going to get into that kind of money. But no big VC, no divvying up the company kind of thing until 2016. How much of that was a little bit of FOMO, in the sense of you saw your contemporaries in the last couple years loading their guns with a whole lot of money that you didn't have? Did you feel you needed to go get money, even if the situation was kind of maybe not what you wanted, to compete? Or were you looking to get that money because you really wanted to get into franchising and you thought, I need 20 X odd million? I know you weren't an Overwatch guy, but were you already thinking Call of Duty's going that way? I need to get loaded up for this fucking thing.
So yeah, yes and no. So I'll tell you exactly what I wouldn't have taken it at all. I wouldn't have taken any if I knew that None of those big people were going to come in and say, Scump, we're going to give you, whatever money a year. And then me looking at what I have to manage and all of the people that I have to manage and say, how does this affect everybody's bottom line, including mine, because I have to think about that too. How does this affect OpTic in the long run? And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do it fair and square. Was just not going to be the name of the game, right? Running a profitable business when you have no business education and no formal, prior experience on running businesses. I knew how much money we were making. I knew how much money we can spend. I knew when we can expand, and that's it. That's as far as as that went. When the big money started to come in, I knew it was simple. It was a simple math for me. If somebody comes in and offers Scump $1 million a year, one, I'm not going to be a hater. I'm not. I love my brother. That's I'll do anything for all my players. If there's a better offer on the table and I can't match it, I'm not going to be a hater and keep you, right? And my history has reflected that. Ask any player that has ever left OpTic if I have been in one single fucking phone call that says, here's how much the buyout is. Okay. Now, the game has changed. Okay. And it's changing for the right reasons. That conversation does need to happen now. But back in the day, when I was doing things my way, never once have I held any player to any contract, never asked for it. Ask any player that has ever left. That's just not the business that I ran. So when I said, I'm like, all right, can I afford to match that mill just on the merits? And I started thinking, I'm like, well, I would need to get another sponsor. Where the fuck? What kind of sponsors are out there that can, that I can add on? Peripherals is already taken, controllers already taken, chairs is already taken. Like, where can I get this money? Right? No sales team either, mind you. So I'm like, all right, cool. I think it's time. And I knew that I had a very compelling brand. I knew that we had built something special, and that's when we started looking. But I wouldn't have done it. Absolutely not. I would have a family-owned business, baby.
Yeah. And then in retrospect, because this infusion of VC into all these teams, and Counter-Strike obviously being my favorite game, you bring up salaries, they instantly went up, right? Which
one guy did that. I'm kidding.
Kind of. Your boy had something to do with it.
Well, you and I know.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I know.
Isn't that your partner? Wait. Hang on a second. Wait, what?
No, it wasn't Stro. Was it Stro? No, it was not Stro. I was thinking of
Stro. Definitely helped.
What was that?
When he paid the French, he wasn't the first, but he helped. He helped overpay. Villa in Nice. He gave him a villa in Nice. I mean, come on. I mean, bless MBK's heart for negotiating for one thing.
One thing though.
He gave him a championship too, though.
A bunch of championships. The players benefited, and you can't get mad at that when a whole industry is built on people busting their ass hours on end to perfect their craft.
For sure,
their fucking salaries better go up. So say what I mean. Yeah, the escalation of the salaries may have been a little bit fucking out there, right? But I wasn't talking about Stro. But yeah, you're right. He did take very good care of the French teams, and he got a bunch of CS championships out of that. But at the end of the day, the players benefited. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a player guy. No, I mean, awesome. I'm obviously a player guy. I'm a firm believer that the industry has to figure out what the monthly nut of a player ends up being. But I'm also a believer that $10,000, that $20,000 that a pro player might be worth in the ecosystem doesn't come from one paycheck, and it needs to be divided, right? And what I don't like, and I always bring up, is like these same owners, and you've always not been one, but like these guys took this VC, they jacked everyone's salaries, and I will give you that. Like, yes, more money, more money for the players, yes, but then don't 3 years later go, this sport's too expensive, I have to quit. Because you fucking did that to yourselves. You did that. It did that, team owners. You made Counter-Strike as expensive as it is. No player did. They took your offers. They negotiated you against each other like good players would. But like, you kind of maybe artificially inflated what that top rung should have been years ago, and it's coming back. It's normalizing. It always normalizes. But I just hate the disingenuous, like, you made the problem, and you just get we can't afford this game anymore. We're out. Halo, let's go.
If you I mean, if you can afford it, you can afford it, right? Like that's just the way of the world.
But they don't blame it on
even
themselves.
If you create your own issues.
They blame it on an open ecosystem. They blame it that they can't franchise it. So they'll open their own Flashpoint League that crumbles built in front of themselves. Anyway, this is about you, Hector. Let's get going on you. I want to go back on topic because you brought up a really good point. No sales team. You are the sales team of OpTic and have been. Well, maybe you have some people helping you now. Was for a very, very long time.
Now we do have sales.
And I was going to bring it up as a joke because I made a note in my notes. Eavesdrop podcast bacon. I did this podcast of yours a couple years ago. And mid-podcast, Mitch, we got to get far better at this. Mid-podcast, Hector pauses the podcast live. We're live. Live to tape, if you will. And he starts on what felt like a 30-minute sponsor plug, right? In order, he blogs Butcher Box for all your fancy meats and lifetime bacon forever.
So good.
He then proceeds to, again, you nailed this shit. He goes into this company called Hims, which will handle your erectile dysfunction, will handle your male pattern baldness. He makes a comment about my fucking hair. He's like, not you, Scoots, you're fine. Like, he tied the shit to me live, right? And then he follows it up with a Manscaped fucking plug, all in an order.
Gotta make it look good.
So he sold me meat. He's given me a hard-on and had my hair grow back, and now he sold me a shaver to clean my shit up for the bit. You know, holy fuck, Hector. Like, I was in awe. I was just sitting there going, I can't believe it. And you're flawless. I went back and watched it. But I want to point out, the reason I brought it up is, A, we got to get much better at this, Mitch, of giving live plugs. You owe me bacon. You told me you were going to ask me for my address, and you were going to send me bacon.
Yeah.
No bacon, no address, nothing.
No address. That's the problem. No address.
So I will get. Do you still have the Butcher Box thing going? You know, you still hooked up with them?
No. But for Hims is still a sponsor of the podcast. Okay, nice. So huge shout out for them. Yeah.
But again,
look, 42 years old, Scott. Look at this hair, baby. You know what I'm saying?
I know, it's amazing.
Don't you want to keep that going?
Amazing.
Come on, man.
And I make fun of it, but what I would say if I was a sponsor or an advertiser, like the stuff you do that so genuinely and so like those were good plugs. I'm giving you shit, but like that's exactly what Butcher Box wants from someone to give money to, or Hims. They want it to make it authentic. They want you to have fun with those little plugs and, you know, have some riffs on it. And again, it's probably really easy to write OpTic checks and stuff like that because, again, you do very good engagement stuff. So anyway, I need bacon, though, from you.
Thank you.
Now let's move.
I have a question instead of an anecdote. So if I might serve this up because I'm really interested on Hector's sort of view of franchising because you know, both CDL and Overwatch League sort of came out with this sort of model, this like city-based model. And I'm hanging on to this because one of the things you used to describe yourself, Hector, was like a bunch of guys from the Midwest, right? There's like, you know, you talk about where you come from, you talk about where you are, location kind of, you know, it seemed like it mattered somewhat to you, but I'd love to get it from you, you know. What do you think about franchising? I know there's differences between the CDL and CWL and OWL, but obviously the Outlaws brand was involved. You know,
best branding in OWL to this day. Look, I think that in the higher ups path to see what the future was going to look like, and understanding from other people who have studied sports for so long, and understanding that esports is the future, they said, well, let's look at our past. Where does it begin? How does it monetize? How does it get to where it needs to get to? Unfortunately, for models like that, is that you can't just apply what you've learned already and just assume that it's going to work, right? There has to be a little bit of reshaping. There has to be a little bit of foresight that goes into the process. It's not just putting a square in a peg hole. It's not that, right? It is a little bit deeper than that. And although I believe in the franchise model, I don't think that I'll ever be able to necessarily believe in the city-based model for esports. Now, if you look at what they grew up in, right? If you look at how traditional sports grew up, you're gonna run into the fact that the internet didn't exist back then, which means that there was regions that you were bound by, and you couldn't broadcast beyond that. Well, the internet's here, right? There's no mountains, no mountains, no rivers, no borders, no nothing that can stop somebody from Australia. Shout out to my people in Melbourne, by the way. Long time since I visited. For them not to be a members of the Green Wall. For my Canadians, all of my French brothers, all of my, like, this is way beyond that, right? Like, this goes beyond that. I haven't been to a single new country that I've never been to and not seen a member of the Green Wall there that's ready to take a picture with me because they've been watching my videos since they were fucking 13 years old, right? But the franchise thing, I believe offers the structure needed to make this what it needs to be. Are we there right now? No, right? I think that there's still a lot of development that needs to happen, but it is the internet. It is the age of give me a 6-second video and get the fuck on with you.
Yeah,
Get out of my thing. So with that mentality and that phenomena, if you want to call it that, you also have to think about what it does on a timeline perspective for a business model that has been, developed over hundreds of years into internet timeline or internet time, right? If you look at the drama that happens nowadays, it's there 1 day, 2 days. What were we talking about?
Yep.
What happened?
72-hour rule, right?
Yeah. Right? That's the same thing that everybody is sort of adjusting themselves to. Does the franchise model work in theory? Yeah, absolutely. Duh. Will it work? Inevitable, right? That it's going to work. How we apply 100 years of knowledge into a 5-year sort of program without any ayahuasca or anything that can make you move time in a weird way, I don't know. But we're all trying to learn.
Well, I think that's a really valid distinction that we have to always try to make too, Hector, is that franchise system, when we talk about it, does not automatically mean city-based like Overwatch. Franchise system means closed system, someone bought in, got a slot, they own it, they get to keep it for a while, maybe some relegation, maybe not. And again, I as an ex-team owner, totally get that as a TO and a game dev kind of thing, totally get why keeping it in a nice, tight, controllable box like LCS, or more like you got going on now, what seems like the Overwatch and Call of Duties are kind of turning into just more standard franchise, even though there's regional stuff. That's always made kind of sense. I've always just, as the purist, disliked it, even though I know it's the reality, because as soon as you lock the door, you really stop people from maybe trying to build their own team, right? Like, who's aspiring right now to be an NFL team owner and starting their little football team to become a big football team? Nobody, right? You got to buy that spot. And maybe that's just the way it is, right? That you don't get to be a little entrepreneurial esports team owner. You have to be VC backed and, just like sports. And that's just the nature of it. It's always been the city-based thing. To your point, I was just always like, you can't think about how great Green Bay is without thinking about the 100 years of Green Bay and winters and no communication and grandfather and grandson and like the legend, the legacy of sports fans, right? Passed down. And that's just, I just don't think the city-based thing. Now, though, Hector, I don't know if you watched our segment, maybe you already own one. Do you own a Gyltch arena? Are you an investor in this Gyltch arena thing coming? Are you familiar? Because maybe that would change your mind in city-based esports arenas if you had a Gyltch arena in your hometown. No?
I don't think anything would change my mind regarding that. Look, if the Cowboys weren't the Dallas Cowboys and they were just the Cowboys, right? America's team. What if they weren't America's team and they were just like everyone's team, right? If they didn't put these regions against it. Now, I believe in the team that runs the league. I believe in our league ops. The people behind there are smart people. I put them through hell, I know, but I have faith and confidence in all of them. And I know that they are not afraid to pivot. I know that they are not afraid to bend if needed. So what this thing develops into, how soon it develops into, like, that's part of the ride. And that's knowing what I know now. That is the fun part, right? When I sold OpTic, that was dreams accomplished, right?
Yep.
Everything that the American dream came true for an old dude like me, right? But then when that happened, then what? Like the fun part was building that thing. That was the fun part. So I now live in it sounds super cringe, and I hate that, but like, man, I'm in no rush to go anywhere fast, man. I want to enjoy these moments because I know they're, I know that the last 10 years, which have been the best in my life, like they're yesterdays, man.
Yep.
So I'd rather sit here, have this conversation with you, enjoy it for as much as I can, and you too, obviously, and enjoy it as much as I can, and then talk about the future, sure, but don't hope for it to come any sooner than it has to.
Sure.
Well, and you do get a certain level of comfort with a certain level of success too. Obviously, like you said, you've checked off some bucket list stuff. You've done some great stuff with your brand. Now you can, still enjoy it, but being a workaholic that you are, like you're not slowing down, obviously. I want to talk about, I want clarification on something. Can you walk me through what the fuck is going on with you and Envy? Because we're going to get to the Esports Arlington Stadium in a minute. Yeah. But because we're talking about venues and city-based shit. But explain to me, like I'm 5, what is OpTic and Envy? Are you all one thing now?
We merged companies, and yeah,
okay.
Stro, who he and I started a thing called Eon Interactive a very, very long time ago. You were around,
yep,
obviously, and you saw it and you had your opinions on it. I think that even back then we were a little bit ahead of the time in what we were trying to build. I mean, now it's common practice, right? That these things happen. But we've always wanted to work together. I've always respected the way that he's approached his business in a sense, and that was something that I was always missing, right? I think that OpTic, deserved a better CEO, for lack of a better term. No one could have led OpTic to where it is today. No one could have had the vision that I have for it. Nobody has the vision that I have for it. But as far as the managerial and every single day-to-day stuff, I like to be in front of the camera. I've always been the class clown. I like to make my friends laugh. I like to make my wife laugh. I like to make my kid laugh. That's my thing. I like to create, and I like for people to say, yo, that shit is dope. That's what I live for. So in sort of finding OpTic's footing in the space and sort of finding myself in the space, I neglected, I think, a lot of the could have. Look, I can't complain, right? Obviously, because it worked out in the end. But I do think that there was a lot of times where a grown up was needed in the room in certain cases that I couldn't be because it would have ruined something special. So now that we have this sort of coming together, right? Like the corporate infrastructure that he has put together are people that we know, that I know personally, and that I've known for the last 5 years or so, right? I always envies corporate strategy and investment group. I think that they get it. I think that more than anything, they know how to sort of step out of the way a little bit and allow the creatives to sort of lead the thing. And that's that we always talked about it, and I always said it. I'm like, you're really, really lucky to have the investment group that you have. And I think that's one of the main things that sort of attracted me to the deal. And it was a good deal in the end, for me personally, for the brand. And I think that we're gonna make some noise.
Now, I keep bringing up the podcast, but that's the last time I saw you, right before the pandemic. We were actually in Dallas to go to an SVG event at Esports Arena, and Jason and I wanted to tick a bunch of boxes, so we went and saw Lake at the Frisco compound for Complexity, saw all their cool shit. We went and saw you. I did the podcast in your warehouse. And then we went and saw Mike in Hastro's floor, and he was upgrading, he was constructing that next floor that they're now in, right? And we just wanted to kind of check everything out. And Mike was showing me an area of development in Dallas that they were looking at, and they were going to do like an entertainment complex, right? This is, again, like, 2.5 years ago now. Different than Esports Arena, but you guys were all part of Esports Arena in one way or another, because I think that's where your teams were going to play when you were doing the city-based stuff. But then, again, you merged with Envy. Oh, go ahead. Did you say something? No.
I did play there. Yeah, I mean, we had like our homestands at at that venue.
And then
Dallas.
Yeah.
Most recently, so you merged with Envy, and I've got a conflict of interest question, competitive integrity in a second. But now you guys then announced that you've taken over the management, or Envy has taken over the management of ESA. So talk to us a little bit about your involvement in this stadium, ESA, Esports Stadium Arlington, by the way, old convention center owned by the city of Arlington, flipped, converted, made into a really nice purpose-built venue. Been there a couple times myself. Video playing of you. This is while you're doing hype videos.
Oh yeah.
What's your involvement in ESA? What was it then, and what is it now?
Back then, well, obviously, like I was the architect, right? Like I was also Bob the Builder. That like I drove that little.
That was you with the scissor lift and shit. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I was putting lights up and shit. And what it is now, it's a little bit of the same, man. I'm back there switching switches and shit.
You and Corey Dunn,
like, pointing lights,
making music, making
magic. No, you know what? That is such a godsend, dude, man. Corey handles. The Esports Stadium is his, right? Like he's the one that lives there. He was part of the building of it, and obviously now to sort of have the opportunity to come back and truly have the opportunity to fly with it. It's going to be an exciting time. Look, I think that was an opportunity for us to explore another vertical within the business of esports, and that is obviously creating shows and offering space for people to operate out of. The esports awards have been held out of there for the last two years. I mean, COVID and shit, but I don't know. Yeah. And that's the sort of stuff that we're going to continue to do. And it's not just obviously esports, right? Like when we were there recently, for the opening, there was like this church event happening on the other side. So it's not just one single purpose use for it. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Because obviously what happened there was Corey and that whole gang and Jonathan, right, that ran it, all got fired, quit. And then City took it over with some other people for a little while, all during COVID, right? And then that all didn't last very long, and then you guys have swooped back in. So it sounds like Corey's moved back home and has his place back, which is, again, karma. Corey's a great guy. We all go way back with him. And so conflict of interest. Help me understand this. So you obviously have some sort of parent company that is managing and running both teams. And it does make sense. It's like Jason does a whole lot of shit for this company that I don't do, and I do a whole lot of shit for this company that Jason doesn't do, and we work really well together. So it makes sense that you needed a suit, more of a suit than you are. And Hastro, while like you, is maybe more of a suit and less of a content creator, and you're more of a content creator and less of a suit. Makes perfect sense. Match made in heaven. But isn't there a conflict of interest when your Call of Duty team plays his? Aren't you? Isn't this?
He doesn't have a Call of Duty team.
I thought
this is his Call of Duty.
Oh, that's right. So is that part of it? You have nothing that conflicts? Is that how you're dealing with this? You're making sure you don't?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I was
now look, I'm an envelope pusher all day long, and I'll try to get away with as much shit as I can, like I do, but not in this particular
Chicago
case.
Huntsman brand isn't in the CDL anymore, Scott. It's just OpTic Texas now, which was
I missed
Empire.
that. I missed that note. Okay, I did not know that happened. Did that happen because of this, or did it happen before this? Is all part of this
because of this? It was all part of the plan.
Got it. Okay. Forgive me. I've no conflict of interest with these two companies. So obviously it's just something you got to keep an eye on.
So, can you imagine? Look, I try to stay out of the news as much as I can. I'd rather talk about in the entertainment aspect of it. So yeah, conflict of interest obviously is something that everyone keeps an eye on over here.
So then how will you
lines still get crossed?
How will you actually very good point, because if you Google and try to find bad drama on you or bad drama on your players and shit you had to apologize for as a company, it's few and far between in how many years, right? Like very few, like no heated gamer moments, none of that kind of shit coming out of your crew, right?
You want to know why, man?
Because Papa Hecz don't let it fucking...
Nah, it's just I mind my own fucking business, man. You know what I mean? Like I don't if I have an opinion on somebody else's doings, and look, if I need to stand up for somebody for doing something, then it's happening right in front of me, and I can help that situation, I'll stand up. You know what I mean? I don't run away from shit like that. But aside from that, like, man, I understand business and I understand the decisions that go into business, and I'd just rather mind my own, man. You know, like I can criticize inside all day long, and I do. I can point at everything that everyone's doing wrong all day long. I do, but I don't put that out there. So it's too negative. And
fair enough.
I just rather be cool with everyone, man. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think it's big enough, and we have bigger things to fucking worry about, like growing this thing.
Cool, Uncle Hecz. I used to be a lot meaner to everybody, Hector. I think you know that. I used to yell at everybody a lot more.
I do, but I always
a bit.
played nice with you.
No, I never had any problem with you. I always. I
mean, I still respect you, but from the beginning,
no, I was
like, that's
you were...
Scoots. God damn it, you better relax.
I thought you were a good shit. Still are a good shit. Okay, so then one last question on the Envy thing. Have you guys just decided then, okay, Envy is more this kind of brand, OpTic, like when you decide new games, when you do decide to get in, because obviously we're always having new games, how is there like a vibe that you're going for that an OpTic brand would go into these kind of games and an Envy would, even though you're both kind of console-y in a way in the sense of your roots, or play it by ear?
Yeah. I mean, look, if you look at what the biggest brands in esports are today, they all came from Call of Duty. You know what I'm saying? So, what does that say? But
Who are you looking? Who are you looking at over there, man? What you looking?
No,
over?
I think. No, but the wife came in and said hi. So, look, I think we're just keeping it simple. You know, OpTic is OpTic, and if there's a question about OpTic or what it should be, you ask me. If there's a question about Envy, you know, you ask Stro. You ask the guy that built it.
Gotcha.
And I think that's the easiest approach that anyone can take. Any investor, anybody that's coming into the space, thinking of how to get into the space, don't change the shit that you bought because you liked it the way that it was. When you pick up a content creator and they do something that's a little bit wild, you literally pick them up for being fucking wild. You know, reprimanding them or trying to put them in a cage makes zero sense. It's common sense.
Yeah.
Please allow. I mean, I think humans as a whole, especially in America, we should lead with fucking common sense, man.
It's hard sometimes these days. People seem to forget that shit.
It makes no sense.
Mitch?
I want to talk about the future now, because we obviously, you mentioned earlier, like, who knows what might happen or whatever, but, I think I'm really curious to know about, Pine Park and what that represents for you as a venture and what the vision is sort of behind it. You know what I mean? Because obviously it represents a big move for you. I'd love if you could tell us a bit about it.
Yeah. So obviously in my entrepreneurial path to where I envision myself being when I'm, 50, 60. I know that I have a lot to offer and to sort of implement from a strategy perspective into different, realms of I mean, you name it, right? Like I never thought that I was gonna, be on the advisory board of a golf company. I don't golf, right? But I do YouTube, and I understand YouTube very, very well, right? Good Golf, which is the coolest brand in golfing right now, is doing something that's going to disrupt the golf industry at some point, the same way that Googan, where I sit on the board also, disrupted the way that the fishing world operated. Well, as I'm thinking in my head, as I'm going through this process on not being OpTic Hecz, and I'm thinking, I'm like, well, how am I going to get OpTic back? Like I'm going to have to buy this thing back, and I don't want to be broke. So how do I keep everything that I got going on right now? Keep all of my equity everywhere the same. Like, how do I not, move the table too much? And how do I get it? Well, I got to build businesses, right? I got to build businesses, and I got to be there. So where's the most attractive, place that I can put my name and my abilities to work as a side gig? And one of the first thoughts was tequila, right? Easy, boom. I'm Mexican, so I like tequila.
The Vinny Chase model.
I've
you familiar?
Yeah,
Vinny
sort
Chase.
of. Yeah, sort of.
Entourage.
With Avion. But those turtles. That was turtles.
That was turtles. But
thing.
you're more Vinny than Turtle, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
I think I'm more Ari than Vinny.
Okay,
or
fair
Turtle.
enough. Fair enough.
Yeah,
Well, that might have been insulting, I guess. But yeah.
No, I'm not. I mean,
Ari's
if you're
badass.
asking me who I'd rather be Johnny. You know, Johnny Drama.
Oh,
He's-
Johnny Drama's great, man. Victory.
Yeah, he's
Fucking
he's
show.
great, man. So it was that, and then I'm like, I love cooking, so salsa maybe that's what I would do, like something that spoke to me. And then I saw this article about this brand called Cookies. Cookies is the most powerful brand right now in cannabis. It's led by this rapper named Burner, this entrepreneur dude, super smart. But I saw this article that said that he got an $800 million offer for his company like fucking 2 years ago, and he said no. And I'm like, the balls on this guy. Wow. Ooh.
Yeah.
No, he's I want 3 billion. And I was like, oh shit, 3 billion. Not 1 billion, not 1.5, 3. I was like, damn, I like this dude's style. And I'm like, wait, time out. There's a fucking $800 million offer on this thing. And then I started doing the research on it, started looking at the numbers, and I'm like, I like weed. I like weed more than I like tequila. You know what I mean? I like. Look, there I am.
That's a classic picture of you, dude. Like, holy shit.
Thank you. So this picture, by the way, I tweeted out, and I wish I would have waited a month later, because a month later would have been April, and I could have tweeted this out on 420. But I tweeted this out, and I said, I've decided that at the end of this year, I'm going to launch a cannabis brand. And it got 5 million impressions overnight. 5 million. I was like, what the fuck? I looked at all of my analytics on every single Twitter post that I've ever done. I've never gotten 5 million impressions ever, like on a tweet. No, the engagement it was insane. I'm like, God. And then I'm like, all right, well, let's. I approach it the same way with like that I approach everything. If I can. In fishing, for example, right? I'm like, if 10% of my audience likes to fish, also, like, there's a business to be made there, and something more for me to be able to share. Another outlet that doesn't keep me sort of tied down to the keyboard, doesn't keep me tied down to my controller. It gets me. If I can bring my audience with me outdoors, I'm gonna bring them outdoors. So the same thing. I'm like, you know what? I think we're in the age of information. I think that we have reached a place. I also looked at my analytics when I was building OpTic, and I know that back then when I first started, that my demographic was people that were 13 to 24-year-olds, 34, whatever. And it's been 10 years since I've sort of built this thing, right? So I know that my audience now has grown up, not only watching me, but that. And we've been very, very adamant about doing the right thing always. Yeah, we slipped up, and sometimes somebody was smoking a cigarette somewhere. Okay, that aside, we tried not to include that part, right? We made sure they walked the straight and narrow. So I'm like, you know what? I think now that there's research surrounding cannabis, that there's research surrounding the true effects, not devil's lettuce. It's not gonna turn you into this fucking wild, crazy person. It's gonna make you more creative. It's gonna make food taste better. It's gonna make you sleep better. And I like the research is there, so I won't pitch too much on it, but I said I think it's time to explore what this next part of my entrepreneurial journey looks like. And again, it was all about trying to build businesses so I can buy OpTic back. And sure enough, we launched Pine Park. It was a success. One day I'll be able to tell the impact that thing had, that launch had, compared to other brands that launched. And we fucking kicked ass. I was surprised, and by now numbers don't surprise me. You know, performance doesn't surprise me anymore. So I was like, okay, boom, it's good. I'm like, all right, we're on the right path. Get a phone call from my lawyer. I'm like, hey, what's up?
Oh no.
So hey, are you interested in buying OpTic? I was like, yes. Boom, hung up, make it happen. So when I set out to do this business so I can make enough money so I can buy OpTic back, at the same time something happens on somewhere else where somebody doesn't want something anymore, and it's coming back to Papa. So
so
that's how Pine Park happened.
It was by chance. So it was the OpTic sort of rebuy. You know, how did this come about? Like, did you sort of go out and go, hey, like, I want to buy this brand back, or did it just so happen that like it was up for sale? Like, How did this all go down?
I tried buying OpTic 6 months after the Infinite transaction. I tried buying OpTic back a year into the transaction too, and we had a very compelling offer, and it was Stro and I, by the way, and the investment group were the ones that made that second bid, the one that we lost to the West Coast. But yeah, that's what it was.
So the green wall got saved by a wall of green?
No. I mean, if it would have worked out the way that I planned, yeah, sure. But that would have meant that, you know, Pine Park is 5 years on the road and it's a massive success, and there's interest in buying it, right? Like none of that happened. It just happened to go down the path that, you know, I started on that journey to get OpTic back, while at the same time, it just sort of fell in my lap.
Yeah, ahead of it, almost ahead of the game. So I take it you've been a connoisseur for quite a while then, or was this more of a business choice because legalization is happening in all sorts of states everywhere, and it's more attractive as an investment model, or are you a big proponent of the medicinal benefits of marijuana?
I am. Yeah,
Okay.
look, we're launching the CBD side of this thing by the end of this quarter. So I'm very obviously, like the power of the plant to me was one of the biggest passion projects that I was able to discover. I've always smoked cannabis, right, since 1990.
Okay.
June 30th, 1997.
You never
was
told
the first
me
time that I
this.
smoked
You know,
cannabis.
we could have had way better conversations on the road over the
I
years,
know,
you
brother, but
you
you know, obviously
you were squeaky clean. You kept this image really. At least I would never have guessed you to be any sort of smoker. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, would you have guessed that I was, painting trains illegally for so long, right? Like, allegedly.
Allegedly.
No, of course not, right?
Allegedly.
And
It's a
again,
victimless crime, really.
it is because no, it isn't. And it is again because of I know that, behind the curtains is the one. I know that what the people signed up for is the good and the bad and the ugly surrounding this one sphere, right? What I do in my personal life, I'll share as much as I want to share.
Yep.
There are times that I just choose to be private about a lot of things.
Well, and obviously, it's federally illegal still, so it makes perfect sense that you would not be public about something like this.
Yeah, I don't smoke while in Texas.
Yeah.
I literally last time I smoked was when I was in Oklahoma a couple of weeks ago.
So
before this happened.
So it's a farm. Like, what exactly is the company?
It's a brand.
Okay, so
it's we're a brand, but we do have a partner at Coastal Farms in San somewhere, and we have this 10,000 square foot facility called the Pine Park headquarters. I felt that it would be too much if I also called that the Pine Park Hecz quarters. The Pine Park headquarters, which is our laboratories, we have very, very skilled connoisseurs. You know what's crazy though, Scott, is that I have been able to work closely with members of the Green Wall, with people that have been watching me since they were 13 years old, who are now like made people that are part of the cannabis community in a very meaningful way. They were the first people to reach out. It's like, hey, let's talk. I've been watching you for a long time, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, of course, I'm gonna help you. Of course, I'm gonna contact you.
Yep.
I'm not gonna work with a stranger. I'm gonna work with somebody that I've never met. It's gonna be somebody that has been supporting me for such a long time. So one of them is one of the most, not the most, but he's got a very extensive catalog of seeds, right? This geneticist is, shout out my man's out there, Roundtable Selections on Instagram. Go check them out. And again, it's developing these new proprietary strains that what attracted me to this thing, right? That what attracted me to. So Scott, think about the problem that we have in esports with Adderall, right? Think about how bad that shit is, and how a plant could have changed at least a little bit of those lives, and could have saved some brain matter and some liver matter and some, think about that opportunity also. right? Think about an ointment, a CBD ointment for your knuckles that you apply yourself at night, right? A CBD, not talking THC, a CBD ointment that you can apply to your knuckles at night so that you can have some regenerative opportunities while you sleep. You know, so
I'm down. Available in California?
And it's fun. Available in California. PineParkHQ.com. It delivers right to your door if you're in California.
And is there plans
expanding to Oklahoma very soon?
I was going to say, obviously Arizona went legal this year, so we've got our dispensaries all rocking and rolling. Is the plan to start getting out when you can to other states? And would Pine Park ever start sponsoring esports, or do they already? Are you mixing the brands at all in that sense, or are you trying to?
I don't think that's necessary. No, I don't think that's necessarily the path that. I mean, not yet. At one point, obviously, you know, the cannabis industry is so massive, and there's so much money there that I think that a lot of, you know, if the path leads there, then of course we'll do that. Right now, I'm focusing on developing Pine Park as a media company. The way that we build OpTic as a media company, we're doing the same thing, applying the same strategy that, you know, the OpTic model, right? The one that you see so heavily used by everywhere across the industry. And you know, in the outdoors world and in the sports world, right? Like it's being applied everywhere. So my focus is going to be that. There are going to be some influencers that we're going to go after, people that have been using cannabis for a while, that are, you know, that live in California, that have the opportunity to promote, you know, the brand. So yeah, we're following the OpTic model.
Well, and you know, speaking of content creation, you have a podcast going. That I caught the Jericho episode. Highly productive. Great name, by the way. Nice pun on the name. The Jericho episode, I think, is your most recent one. Like, oh, God, good stuff. And again, very much eavesdroppy vibes, very casual, very laid back, very good conversational kind of shows. Again, you're just a content machine. Another question about the now and the future, unrelated to cannabis, but certainly related to this new shit we're dealing with. Every week, Hector, we're talking about crypto, blockchain, and NFT projects of somebody's, right? Your thoughts on this in our space, in the sense of, like, we talked about this morning, the 100 Thieves digital collection giveaway and the success of that versus...
What was it, like 400,000, right?
300,000 in the first 24 hours, 700,000 over the course of the campaign. And your thoughts on
today. Cool.
Yeah, your thoughts on how that fits in with, like, esports fandom and teams and using that technology and the good and bad of it. Where do you guys lay with that?
It's the future. It's the future, and anybody that doesn't understand it, more often than not is going to be against it. And it's fine, right? Like you're more scared of the monster in the movie that you never get to see than, you know, seeing actual T-Rex coming after you, right? It's a
what's the future?
It's what it is. It is.
The ape isn't the future, though, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think the ape as a representative of what it actually is, the technology behind it, the contracts behind it, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's just only one part of a trillion parts that are going to happen and evolve into over the next couple of decades, right? I mean, shit, it won't even take decades. I think it was the next 5 years. Everybody will have such a firm understanding of what an NFT is, of what crypto is, of what blockchain is, and it's going to be second nature. If back in the day you told somebody that, hey, I have a plastic fucking thing, I can pay with my phone.
Yeah,
I can pay money. I can pay with my phone. It's second nature. It's going to become second nature the way that it is. The reason that it's something that, I don't know. Look, obviously, certain things have happened in crypto and coins in esports that have well, maybe not necessarily esports, but in gaming entertainment that have sort of deviated or sort of thrown this thing towards the wrong side of the of what it actually is, that leaves a sour taste in people's mouths. I get that, and I understand that. But to judge, how do I explain it? Best way that I can explain it is look at what G2 did with their offering. Fucking perfect. Perfectly executed, such a fucking great idea. It was well done. The amount of people that were mad at him, for it, was fucking mind blowing to me. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't feel bad now and I didn't feel bad when people were talking shit about us and our deal with with Rally. I'm an artist. I'm gonna have NFTs. That's just the path that I'm going to take. It's inevitable for me to take that path. but the amount of people that were talking shit to us for it, I looked at everybody that was talking shit about it, and every single, I say the majority of the people that are talking shit, they weren't even following me or anybody in gaming. It was just real people, robots. I don't know. I truly don't know how, but it was just, I was just like, it's ahead of its game. It's ahead of the game. It's ahead of the time. It's only a matter of time. And what have we learned about me in the last couple of minutes is that I like to be patient on everything. So as this thing evolves and as this thing gets truly understood, I think that the path will get easier. Now, if you look at 100 Thieves, they didn't sell that shit. They gave that away, and look at the fucking success that it had.
Right.
So is it that some people are paying for it, or is it that they don't understand it? You know what? Nobody knows. We'll see.
Yeah. And I think, like with any new technology or any new open thing, everyone shows up, the good actors, the grifters. And I think what happens after years of the technology being used is you can start to see the grift easier, and people get scammed less on these kind of things. Again, you can think of multi-level marketing 20 years ago and think of it now. Everybody knows what a scam multi-level marketing is, and putting a bunch of shit in your garage and hoping to resell it. But 20 years ago, everybody was trying to fucking sell Amway, right? And everyone got educated on the downsides of that kind of marketing, right? Direct selling, if you will. So I think maybe part of the issue is that just a lot of the press has been kind of these negative coins and rug pulls and bullshit that makes everything else, makes you think it's all the same, but to your point, it's drastically not the same. And it's a very varied set of technology being used here. I just, again, wanted to get your opinion on it. Obviously, the artist take makes perfect sense because, again, it's another place for you to get your work out there and obviously monetize it in a way even. And who would begrudge that?
Look, I mean, a lot of the concerns about it can be ideological, because a large amount of people don't really ask what is being put into an NFT, what blockchain is it on, what is the purpose of it, what's the fee structure, how scarce is it? A lot of people have problems with the idea of something being artificially scarce, but that happens all the time. Like, people literally in clubs section off parts of the club that could be used to limit the occupancy to make it look that much more exclusive. So I can understand where some of the detraction comes from, and there's some legitimate concerns on both sides of the issue. But I think Hector's dead right. I think it's coming real quick. And if people don't realize the fact that that Twitter has already adopted NFT profile pictures, if brands like Cloud9, for example, joining up with crypto partners, the fact that you can there'll be a feature connecting your wallet to Twitter very, very soon. The corporations, this has already been adopted. If you wanted to really stop this and kick up a fuss, it had to be 3 years ago, not now. It's happening, fam.
It's early, man. It's early.
And chat's talking about crypto as a currency. Do you think just as crypto gets more and more accepted and it becomes just another way to pay, everything else that you would spend with crypto becomes more mainstream and more normal and less because I don't have any crypto. So if I don't have any crypto, I can't go get an NFT, right? I got to do all these things to get to that thing. But once everyone can crypto and that's easy and accepted as a currency, maybe the use of it on these kind of things becomes easier, right?
I just,
a guy in chat's I'm not, until I can use crypto at McDonald's or buying a thing of milk, I don't give a shit. But maybe once it's that easy, then it's just as easy to get that NFT for that guy. I don't know.
I mean, man, you use Venmo, you use Cash App, you use PayPal, right?
Yeah, true.
You use Apple Pay, right? It's if that's not cryptocurrency, right? It's got a denomination of the $ or the euro, but it's still fucking money in the air that you don't ever really, you never touch. So
the whole transaction exists digitally. There's no physical component to it, and people don't, and integrating this kind of stuff is just not an issue, mate. You could just have it great example is you have your PayPal account. Yeah, you could just in the account, you could just convert your US dollars to crypto and then send that crypto.
Yeah.
It's just dead easy. It's just in infrastructure for this kind of thing already sort of exists. But I want to get on topic and just sort of circle back around and obviously Hector, you're a big fan of sort of living in the now and and sort of just appreciating what you have and just how you got here. But I'm curious to know sort of what is next. obviously you've got this business in Pine Park you're building up. The merger, obviously, with Envy went through. You said you're going to be around for a while. You want to. Something about you I really recognize is two things. First of all, you keep track of dates. All right. Every time I ask you about something that happened, you know the exact date that it happened. And the second thing I noticed
if it's
is
important,
that you
matters.
want to be. Yeah. You talk about being disruptive, right? You want to disrupt the space. You want to disrupt the norms. The status quo in whatever field you're in. So, what is next for you, man? Like, what is coming up? How are you gonna again shake up the space, sort of in the future?
I think for me, the rest of my life is just focused on making that last for as long as esports is around. For me to leave a legacy that matters and that is impactful, and it's that people will be able to benefit from in the future, a pay it forward of sorts. Everything else that I do, I think is just I think it's just me trying to have fun while making money, right? I suffer from the gruesome grind mentality where, and look, it's not my fault. I'm an immigrant. Obviously I'm an American immigrant, but like I came from Mexico. I lived in Mexico. I worked, from the time that I was 8 years old till now, right? Like I've always had a grind mentality, and I always know that if I'm not working, that's me sort of not taking advantage of the full opportunity. That's me leaving money on the table. That's me doing a disservice to my opportunity. And I can never ever live a life where I don't take full advantage of everything that's in front of me. So as far as like new businesses, like I think that what the advisory boards that I sit on now, it's enough. I think that Pine Park is more than enough to sort of scratch the itch of my entrepreneurial wants. Am I going to have ideas? Sure. Am I going to advise? Sure. But I think my focus is just gonna continue to be OpTic. I need to get it to where it once was.
Mm-hmm.
And how I'm going to do that? Well, I don't know. I'm not big on spoilers, man. I don't like leaks.
You don't want to drop any exclusives on us?
No, look,
you bought Ven. You bought Ven. What? Hector bought Ven from Ariel Horn.
I wish I would have bought at least my show off of Ven.
I just lost. Just lost my FB.
I think that
what happened? That
would have been cool.
You were supposed to do this whole show, right? I remember seeing like the trailers for it. It looked like a really compelling sit down and talk sort of roundtable format. What happened with that?
Business got in the on their end. Obviously, they're going through the changes that they need to go through in order for Ven to sort of find its place and what it was. The cool thing about the show is that it was so well produced that it made it super fun and easy for me to have these conversations. Lee Trink, Johanna Ferris, my brother Nate Shot. Obviously like the Nate Shot one went live, but in the Fwiz one went live. But I had some of the most I don't know, inspirational conversations that I've ever had were with Johanna Ferris, with Lee Trink from FaZe, and Steve Aronset, right? Steve Aronset from Team Liquid. Like the conversation that I had with him ended in such a fucking gem of a message that he left that it's a crime that it doesn't live openly on the internet right now. That dude has a very aligned visions with me, but the way that he put it so gosh darn eloquently that I just wish that it was out there, right? That it was there for people to hear. It's a shame. What are you gonna do? It's fucking the early ages of gaming and esports entertainment.
Yeah, they bit off a lot with that studio, no doubt. So you don't think those other episodes will ever see the light of day, or they were never got finished being edited or anything? Like it's lost content forever?
I don't know. Damn. I don't know.
Yeah, because the other ones were good.
I do not know.
There was some spiciness with Nate Shot coming, but great interview stuff. Like those are great pieces.
Yeah,
Those two guys.
I don't even think it was. I don't even think it was spicy. Like him saying that. Like,
Oh no,
like
no,
him being
yeah.
passionate up. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like the way that some people twist shit.
Oh,
fucking
God, yeah.
gets me like fucking angry because I'm like I get it, man. You need fucking clicks. I get it, but don't twist what this dude's passion is. Like you don't want to turn off people like him to this thing. You don't want to jade him from this space. Like he's got a lot to offer. So for people to for industry people, fans, fuck it. I get it, right? Whatever.
Sure.
But for industry people to have a fucking opinion the way that some people had makes me fucking so angry. And yeah, I may be an overprotective brother for sure, 100%, right? But man, you don't treat people like that, especially when that was not the message to begin with. So
yeah.
Ooh.
But really good content. I mean, some of your best content and in regards, because like you said, very well produced, very nice format, looked good, sounded good. I mean, it's the kind of thing that Jason and I want to figure out how to do here, right? 2 chairs, really good interview stuff. Because I was going to suggest to you, like, if you wanted to fire that kind of shit up again, because you're really good at that, man. You're really good at getting deep with people. You have been doing it for a very long time. I would love to figure out if that's something you wanted to do with us, and if we could figure that out and fire that back up. Obviously, you can't recreate those interviews. It's unfortunate they're not out here, but because again, you're just a master storyteller, and you pull the best out of people too, right? You're good at it, and you're also good at getting it out of people, which is a double rare thing. And
look, I'm open for conversation, but more importantly, I'm always open to work with good people, man. Of course,
we want to make cool shit with cool people. That's our whole unofficial company motto: cool shit, cool people. I don't really have any more questions for you. I know we were asking in chat if there were any questions. I don't know. Jason will tell me in a second. Mitch, anything for you? We've kept him over his time for sure, so I don't want to keep you much longer.
No, I mean, I'm good. I mean, I'm just glad to have the chance to open a conversation with you, Hector, man. Really appreciate your candor.
Yeah, nice to meet you, man.
Again, I think I've been working with the Overwatch League for a few years, and I'm dealing with the intersection of my esports passion and like a really corporatized environment. So just mad respect to the people out there who built this and are still talking with the same words, man, when as opposed when they build it in the first place. Like that shit's really important. So yeah, great to have you on, man. Thanks so much.
Look, man, when people try to get away with dumb, corrupt, stupid shit, it blows my mind. It's the age of the fucking internet. You can't take a fart without someone smelling where it came from.
Yeah.
So when people try to get away with shit, I'm just like, I'm glad you got caught, you dumb. It's like when people catch COVID for believing in whatever the fuck they believe in, and it treats them bad, right? It's like a bad case of COVID. I'm like, you know what, man? I'm fucking happy that that's happening to you.
Lessons.
That's what you fucking get.
Life lessons being taught. Yeah, and again, thank you again. Long time coming to have this chat with you, Hector. So thank you for finally coming. Appreciate it. And we'll hold you to that. We will figure out how to get out here. If nothing else, to help us paint some walls, and maybe we'll just do another in-depth interview with you. And again, I think I do want to touch base with what Mitch said. If anything, Hector, you've stayed true to you forever. Since I've known you, you have not waffled. You have not blown with the wind. You threw those dice with VC. Realized obviously very quickly that it was a mistake, wanted it back within 6 months, and you got it back. Took you longer than you wanted, but congratulations on getting your baby back, and looking forward to watching OpTic and the MV brands together continue to kick ass out of Texas and around the world. So thank you again for joining us. Much love, brother. Much love.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Man. Big 48. He's the big 48, folks. Almost 50. Big 48. Or 42, maybe.
Look at this fucking skin for a 50-year-old. God damn.
That's some bullshit.
No, 42.
Is that a rug? Are you wearing a rug? Speaking of rug pulls, is that real? Pull that hair real hard.
It was nice, Scott. You left on a really nice note, and now you're asking him to prove his fucking follicular density, mate.
Hey, I gotta do all I can, man. All right.
Aaron,
don't you get me started. You got a full head of hair over there too. I need bald people on my shows. This is
because I'm 30, you motherfucker. Of course I go, mate.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Hector. Much love, brother. You are a rock star.
Oh man. Okay.
Absolute God.
Scott, I was told that there is there's that I need to be shown and I have to react to, right? Is that part of Q&A? Does that come before it?
I don't believe it's part of Q&A. I think it's at the end of the show. Yes, I found a video that I want you to react to. But let's do our questions first. If we've got some, it looks like we do have at least one because I see the Q&A logo.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and see what we got for our questions. Is Halo... Only question. Okay, great. Is Halo Infinite a dead game already? Oof. I don't know. I know viewership is down on Twitch, which isn't necessarily a dead or alive game decider. We do need to always remember that just because someone's not watching someone else play a video game doesn't mean the game itself might not still be popular. They don't necessarily go perfectly hand in hand, but these numbers aren't necessarily great in the sense of people being entertained by watching Halo Infinite. But you can watch Counter-Strike. You can go look at Counter-Strike numbers on a non-tournament day, and they're fucking abysmal. But in that, you would think that Counter-Strike was a terrible game. But then you would watch during Blast or ESL or when Gulls is streaming, and you'd see totally different numbers.
I mean, we're talking about people playing a game. I'll give it to you, right? In November,
but those aren't gameplay
players...
numbers. Those are stream numbers, Mitch. So that's not fair, is what I'm saying. Those are streamer numbers.
What's the question? What does it mean to you when someone asks what a dead game is, Scott?
I mean, I guess a dead game to me would be no one plays it anymore.
Right. That's pretty fair. Let me tell you now about the average player base of Halo Infinite, Scott. November, 102,000.
Great.
December, 51,000.
Okay.
January, 23,000.
This
Last
is
30
what,
days?
Yes.
18,000.
Okay, so that is bad. So that is a better... That is what I need to hear to make me understand that the game is dropping not only in viewership, but in playership, right? Because if no one's playing your game, very few are going to fucking watch it too, right? They do go hand in hand the opposite way. More people play your game, the more they're apt to be entertained by watching someone else play it. So, yeah, that is bad. Because, again, that screenshot could be no one is streaming because there's no tournament, there's no weekend, HCS going. So that on its own doesn't say much. But that in conjunction with those those are big drops, Mitch. Those are big fucking chunky drops.
It's 50%.
Yeah, that is not good. That is not good. Now, HCS Anaheim is this weekend, so we will see. Now we can start comparing tournaments, and if those are dropping after the initial Halo's back, you're in trouble.
Sure. So we're talking about average player counts, but let me give you a comparison to something that people actually call a dead game. You ready for this?
Yep.
The last 30 days, the average player count of Overwatch is 6.8 million. That is an increase from December 2020 with 4.9 million average players. Overwatch has almost 7 million average players in the last 30 days. 5 years after its inception. That's the game that people actually call dead.
That is true. That is fucking true.
So trying to give an idea.
And
people just love to frame.
What was the Halo January numbers?
18,000 in the last 30 days, mate.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Here's the thing, and I fucking said this on the show at the time. I was enjoying the HCS Major and Raleigh, but the fucking game is propped up. Or at least the esport most likely is propped up by the nostalgia of fantastic esports stories and memories.
Sure.
Because the player base doesn't appear to be there to carry it. You know what I mean? It's there's a lot of nostalgia about Halo's place in building esports, and I completely agree with that. But I warned you, Scott. I warned you that this might be riding a wave of nostalgia in that first event. And everyone was tweeting, fuck, it's so good that Halo Esports is back. Everything is right in the world. I'm like, well, okay, this is good, but people have to want to play this game. Now, I just want to be very clear. Those numbers are Steam numbers.
Okay, fair enough.
They are Steam numbers. So but I would suggest that it's very likely that the trend is the same. So, that is PC. On PC, it's fucking brutal because mouse and keyboard is just second class citizen in that world. So, I'm not quoting the console numbers, and it could be completely different, but there has never been more options for a console player to sort of play in terms of those titles. you know, and again, I want to point towards the trend. So
Yeah.
it's not a dead game.
That is funny though. Overwatch dead game.
Yeah, no, people are just fucking dumb though. But we have to like quantify this question. Yeah, we have to sort of because Overwatch Esports viewership fell off a cliff, right? Because of GOATs, but people still love playing the game. So it's a different situation.
Yeah.
If we were able to convert, Overwatch could convert its player base into esports viewership better, it'll be a tier 1 esport, but it's just not. I'm just like, everyone loves to ask this question and everyone loves to sit in Twitch chat and spam it, but it's like it's something that really needs to be. You have to quantify the question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To answer it adequately. That's what I'm trying to say.
I mean, neither game is a Vampire Survivors, right? At this point, right? Neither is really that good. The future of
only
esports.
You fucking boomers like that game. Seriously, Van Silly. Now the two of you are playing that one. Like you have to be over 35. I'm thinking.
I am the champion of our office right now. No one can even touch me. I have the fastest
that's my answer to the
keys.
question.
So it sounds like it might be a fairly dead game on several different metrics, or dying, which is not good for Halo. All right, so I saw a video. I started laughing. I shared it with Jason.
Sorry, sorry, we need to go back.
Are we going back?
Yes, because this is important information. I think I just didn't really notice. The Xbox player count for Halo Infinite is actually pretty. This is why I don't want that last segment clipped and put on Twitter like you fuckers do all the time. Because Steam playership is slumping. On Xbox, Halo Infinite is actually doing pretty well. So
okay.
They track like 2.5 million active accounts. Let me see here. So for Xbox accounts, it's still pretty good. So the trend, so it is a downward trend, but it's not as sharp as what's happening on Steam.
Okay, so that might be more
clear.
of a PC. This game fucking sucks for PC. I don't want to play this anymore.
Yeah, I think this is something where it's a bit nuanced because of like the cross-platform nature of the game. So look, it's not doing great. Is all I'm going to say. You guys can look it up. I've got it here, but it's all right.
Okay. And so this one, I don't really want to tell you much about it. I just want you to enjoy this amazing, this amazing video we found for you to talk about. I want you to comment it live, like Jason was doing to me.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right. This is okay. It's a jerry can. Old mate is all right. It's cold. I mean. This is Russian people doing stupid shit, isn't it?
That's literally the name of our show now.
Where's the water? In the pool. Okay, it's on fire. Oh, what is it? Is that napalm?
It's definitely gasoline.
Yeah, but
he's trying to get the can of gas into the pool, but he missed. There's the can.
He's trying to hold it with his bare hands. He's in the pool.
He's in the pool.
The pool's about to leave.
He's out of the pool.
Okay. He's out of the pool. But what are they talking about the car? Why are they concerned about the car? I mean, the pool's still. I mean, this water's going to come out. It is coming out. There it is. Okay. Pool is now. Okay, water is now overflowing. This is definitely DEFCON 1 kind of shit. Fire still hasn't been put out, by the way, and it's getting close to the car. That's brutal.
Your moment of not zen.
Okay.
Brought to you by Russian YouTube. Crazy.
Jesus Christ.
Gas burns.
Here's a better article. There's an article. It got linked in chat, so you should see it if you want to look. It's no longer in Xbox Live's top 5 games. Is Halo Infinite as numbers have declined. It's sitting in 6th place. But I don't think that that's published with player numbers. But yeah, again.
Okay.
Trending not great.
Yeah. All right, that will do it for number 9 for us. Next week we hit double digits, Big 10. Thank you, folks, as always, for joining. Remember, Do Not Peek does Valoranting on Tuesdays with Mitch, Man, and Van Silly. And then we come back on Wednesdays. See you next week. Thanks for joining us, as always. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Follow, all the shit you're supposed to do on all the things.